Hello, friends, and welcome to another exciting episode of Snap Judgments, the official podcast of Marvel Snap Zone. This is episode 21/episode 49 overall. We've almost been doing this for a year, and you might notice that I am, in fact, not Roy Rogers. It's Glazer. Roy's got the vid for the first time, so pour one out for Roy. We're going to do a podcast without him, but we're also going to wish him our very best. Today, we are joined by two amazing creators. We've got first, the great, the returning, the person who helped us launch onto Marvel Snap Zone, the most charming man in Marvel Snap, EducatedCollins.
Oh, me? Oh, okay. I thought you were talking about Sal, but I appreciate you. Hello, everybody. I hope you guys are doing fantastic. Sorry that Roy isn't here. Hopefully he'll be back next week. But for now, you've got us, and hopefully you enjoy it.
And Collins, how can our viewers/listeners find you?
You can find me on EducatedCollins, Snap, YouTube. Dude, my brain does that every time now. And Twitter and Twitch as well, wherever.
Awesome. We are also joined by one of my favorite newer content creators in Marvel Snap. Look, no one matches Collins in charmingness, but in terms of charm, no slouch at all. You can call him our friend. CallMeSal. How you doing, Sal?
What's going on, Glazer? Yeah, I'll try and match a fraction of that Collins charm just for y'all watching this right now. But yeah, happy to be here. First time on the podcast. Thanks for inviting me on, man. I appreciate it.
Absolutely our pleasure. How can our listeners/viewers find you?
Yeah, most frequently over on Twitch. CallMeSal. There's an underscore after there because some other jerk had CallMeSal.
I'm with you at the underscore, man.
So I had to put an underscore at the end of that. CallMeSal over on YouTube, Twitter as well. Yeah, come hang out sometime on stream. I'd love it.
And if you call him other things, he still answers. It's very strange. I don't understand.
Or you could be one of those people who call me Sal, or you can just call me Sal. That's fine too.
That was
that's the point of the name.
This is an audio format. I'm very lost. All right. You can find and engage with us on many other socials, but I am not Roy, so I am not listing them all. I'm just going to say we are Snap Judgments Podcast on YouTube, or Snap Judgments Pod, on YouTube. I release a video there every day. If you'd check it out, I'd really appreciate it. We chill on the Marvel Snap Zone Discord, and honestly, I'm on as many Discords as I can be, and then I mass delete them all when I start to have a breakdown because I'm in too many Discords.
Yeah, I'm with you.
But I'm on the Marvel Snap.
I just deleted 5 today. I have 100. So.
I do it all the time. It's just all of a sudden I just start getting when Marvel Snap updates and I get that notification that I don't know how to really get rid of, that there's a hot location from 100 different servers at once. I just go every single one. I'm just I just left 12 servers. Oops. Last place you can find us is all the podcatchers. You're on the podcast. You're on Marvel Snap Zone's YouTube. Sub there. We appreciate their support. Let's do some content.
Let's do it.
First thing to talk about is our friend Nico Minoru. I'm going to read this shit just out for a minute, so let's do it fast. She is a Series 5 card, 6,000 tokens. She is in Spotlight caches, very likely as you're watching this. Although we are going to Theorycraft because we're recording this the night before her release. She is on reveal after you play your next card, cast a spell. That spell changes each turn, and her spells are, as fast as I can, I'm going to do my Carnival Barker voice. That card becomes a demon. Destroy that card to draw 2. Move that card to the right. That card gets +2 power. Replace the card's location, which I assume should be that card, but whatever. Add a copy of that card, to your hand, and double this card's power, and this card is Nico in that case. Let's start with Sal. What do we think of Nico?
I'm not going to lie, man. My biggest thing with Nico that I still don't have my head wrapped around is how you're going to know what spell she has, on standby.
Well, I believe it's going to show you in some way while it's in your hand.
And then it will rotate each turn?
Yeah, it will rotate each turn.
Until you use it.
Yeah, and then no repeats.
Yeah.
And it's random.
So that's the part that is going to be really interesting to me because it's if you are trying to build a Nico-centered deck where maybe 2 of the effects are what you're really going for, that's going to be hard to make sure you always get that on curve.
So I don't think you can build a
can't,
Nico-centric deck. I think it's just not impactful enough, or it's not like consistent enough where you're like, oh, if I don't hit Nico, and if it isn't that one or two spells that I want, like my game plan is ruined. Like I think that's just not something you can consistently have as a win condition or even an alternative win condition. So I think if you're wanting to play Nico and not like as a meme, as like a really viable addition to your deck, you have to just be happy with pretty much all of the abilities and just say, hey, this is a 1/4 consistently, or sometimes it's better than that, and I'm happy with that as a card in my deck. So
yeah, for sure. I think me personally, I'm gonna give it a minute. I'm gonna let the chaos ensue, and I'm gonna see what everyone brews up. 6,000 tokens. It's a decent price, and I don't know about y'all, but for myself, I already have the other 2 cards in the spotlight cache, so it's like I'm not gonna open spotlights for it. So I'm gonna be a wait and see one here, but I think there's a lot of like really interesting implications that could make the card pretty busted, or at the very least, really fun.
I'm generally a wait and see type of player. Like I'm just like, yeah, if it's not broken, like don't come at me. So for this one particular, I would say like the leading strategy in terms of like deck building design is probably to fuse it with Thanos because of a lot of the abilities, or you don't mind if you destroy a stone, you don't mind if you turn a stone into a demon, you don't mind if you double or give it +2 power. It's just a 1/4, and drawing 2 cards in Thanos is usually very powerful.
Huge. Yeah, absolutely.
This is the type of card that fits very well. It's just a 1 cost with the potential upside of like, yeah, you can play it if you're adding it into like Blue Marvel, it just fits in well, and a lot of the spells that you're getting are just fit well into Thanos. Maybe the move it right is the weakest thing, but that's going to be weak in most decks unless you build. Yeah, I mean, even then, like you don't need it. So
you don't need it, but it definitely wouldn't hurt to be able to just fill a location, get the Elsa buff, and Nico moves it to the side. You know, like nobody's mad at that.
And you can still probably do that here. You can still probably play Elsa. So it's not like it's that ability is dead here. It's just like the others are still also very good. So I think like in.
Oh, no, I was going to say, I'm going to be very curious to see if it gets slotted into a broad band of decks, just like Elsa has.
I mean, I think like it's a fun card, and it looks popular in terms of how people are talking about it. So it might see play just from that popularity boost, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if that stands the test of time, right? Like Jean Grey, right? You could argue like got a popularity boost, and then like after a while it's like, nah, I'm not playing this anymore.
But like we're missing the best interaction. She finally makes Phoenix Force like I think good. I think basically everything
1 out of
she
7
does.
times.
No. So moving to the right is good. Destroy to draw 2 +2 power. Add a copy to your hand are all good. So that's like 4 or 5, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 are basically always good with Phoenix decks. While replace this card's location is fine. You have plenty of bullshit to just make a demon, right? And double this card's power is never like bad. You're not sad to have a 1/4.
I'm not sure about like add a copy into your hand would work with Phoenix Force, right? Since if you get a second Phoenix Force, you can't merge with a card already merged. So
you won't get Phoenix Force back. You'll get whatever Phoenix Force revives. So that's where it could get interesting, because you play Nico, Phoenix Force brings back, let's say it's a Human Torch or a multiple man or whatever. Right. You're getting a copy of that boosted up that +5
torch
into your hand, which could be kind of spicy. Even if it is just a 1/7,
that's not 1/7. That's not bad. Yeah, that's actually super fair.
I mean, like also Nimrod's in those decks, right? So destroy to draw 2. You just play this on 4, Nimrod on 5, and then you already have 2 Nimrods.
I mean, the destroy to draw 2 is like one of the best effects, right? If you're hitting that, like you're probably super happy.
Yeah, I mean, even if Yeah, there's a lot of like really interesting implications. Even Phoenix Force right there, you're talking about where if you could play Nico on 1 and then you play something you want to bring back with Phoenix Force on 2 and destroy it and draw 2 cards and increase your likelihood of actually drawing into Phoenix Force, because number one downside of a Phoenix Force deck is Phoenix is on the bottom of the deck.
Yeah. Draw 2 is so broken as an ability. Like, it's just like that's such a powerful thing to do.
So, I mean, draw 2 is easily the best thing this does, right? But like, if we're running this deck, right? Like let's keep Theory Crafting Phoenix Force, because that deck also runs Venom. So if you can time it right for Venom, add a copy to your hand of Venom seems real nice. That's your single turn cloning VATS for Venom.
Yes, because I'm guessing whatever their on reveal is going to happen before you get that copy.
So as far as we know, on reveals happen before everything.
Yeah. The question that I wonder is how do you time this properly, right? Like, that's
going to be the interesting part, right?
Where if you actually are trying to use this as a win condition or an alternative win condition, you're not playing this on 1 pretty much ever, because you want to make sure you're using it effectively. Unless like turn 1 you get the destroy 2 and then you hit like multiple man turn 2. You're like, okay, well, all right, I see you. Yeah. But other than that, you want to time it where it's like, okay, I add a copy into your hand, and it's like turn 3, and I've destroyed something, and I can perfectly like Carnage plus Nico on 3, add a copy, hit my Phoenix Force on 4. Like, how often is that going to?
You need a lot to go right.
But that's not what you do, right? You play it when you have a decent effect and an extra energy. And like sometimes it gives you like a small bonus, right? Like you're never sad to see the +2, and or you just pass and you let it sit in your hand, and then once in a while it just wins you the game.
It's like God, I see.
Yeah. Like, so I'm also curious about whatever Nico's spell that she's holding. When you play her, does it stop rotating?
Yeah, I assume so.
As soon as you play her,
that's what I would assume.
As soon as you play her, it's done officially.
But you're not going to like wait a turn. Like, oh, I got destroyed too. I don't want to destroy this. I guess I'll just skip turn 2 and then destroy my 3.
Any deck that runs like Hulkbuster could get interesting too, because like if you play Nico and then you play Hulkbuster onto Nico and you double this card's power, is that now a 114?
Double this card is only for Nico.
Yeah,
that's what I mean.
So you can Hulkbuster Nico, so that wouldn't be bad. What's decent here is Lockjaw.
Lockjaw gets real interesting. Yeah,
just destroy 2, and it doesn't matter because it gets lockjawed anyway.
Yeah,
that always bothers me, honestly. When they play Lockjaw into like a danger room, and then they kills their danger card, and then they just flops into like a 12 power card, and I'm just like,
it's super dumb, but it works.
I don't like that. I don't like that.
Yeah, I think Nico's gonna be spicy, and I think either there's gonna be way too much like circumstantial stuff where you need things to go in a certain order, and there's just too many variables, with 6-7 different abilities, or the majority of the 7 abilities are going to be useful at the very least, or really, really strong in the best case scenario, and people are just going to start slotting her in all over the place. So I'm curious.
Yeah.
So my argument is Collins and Lambie and I don't know, KM, name like 6 more, right? Like you get the idea. Mariotelli, why stick to the English speaking world, right? Like Eva, like they're going to be busted with this card.
Yeah, and that could be the other part of it too, is Nico could just be a really, really high skill cap card that for the common casual player, they're going to be like, this card sucks.
I mean, we've all played people who suck with Loki, right?
No, I never faced them. Yeah.
Oh well,
hit the nuts. Yeah.
So that's another interesting component to some of these new releases is if they are like not straightforward, they're really high skill cap. You really got to like time out your stuff and know what you're doing and anticipate what your opponent's doing and everything to make the most out of the card. It's going to see a ton of play and competitive play, but for casual people, dropping 6,000 tokens on a card that's going to make your head spin just trying to figure out how to use it efficiently, I don't know if it's worth the 6K tokens. Get yourself a living tribunal and make big numbers go boom,
Good.
I do agree that this is definitely more high like higher skill cap than a lot of the other cards we usually have. Usually they have one effect and they're pretty straightforward. This one, you depending on like when you play this can definitely manipulate a game in lots of different ways. Even the move it right, which you'd argue is the weakest ability. Like if you're not expecting that, like that could be a very powerful final turn play where you just play this and another card, move it right, and then win a lane they weren't expecting, right? So that kind of stuff where it gives you the ability to win lanes that like other cards don't give you. It's just something that's very valuable for high level play, because in high level play, it's very easy to assume, oh, this is exactly what's going to happen for like following after turn 3, turn 4, 5, 6, we know exactly what's going to happen. But this is a card that you don't know exactly what's going to happen, especially when you're not playing Conquest and they don't even know you have in your deck. Like this just adds that element of randomness that even you, when you play, don't exactly know how this is going to perform for you. So,
and even when you are playing Conquest and they do know that you have it in your deck, they're still not going to know
around it. Yeah,
and but they're not going to know which ability.
Spell.
Yeah.
I wonder if they can see the spell. If they can't see the spell, that's crazy.
I doubt the opponent's gonna.
I assume once you play it, they can see it. But if it's in your hand,
I thought too.
Yeah,
but then you get into the next match of a Conquest. Yeah, and it's a new spell.
Yeah, and you can play like final turn, right?
So
like
you can also, it's one, so you can play it and the next card that turn, right? Like,
so that's something that we haven't really seen before either, though. Like for Conquest specifically, there once you've played enough matches against your opponent, you know what their entire deck is. Not with Nico. This is always going to be an unknown variable, and I think that's really interesting.
You could play Agent 13, Agent Coulson, right?
Morph.
Like there are cards like that.
True. That is very valid.
I just realized something I don't think I've ever actually thought of before. There's a lot of very simple Series 3 cards that do like one basic thing, but because they're selling us cards individually, Series 4 and Series 5 cards that they newly release can fundamentally never do that. Like they have to do something big and flashy.
They have to do something different.
Yeah,
not like, necessarily big and flashy, but different.
So sure, but like they wouldn't release a card that was on reveal, destroy the next card you play to draw 2 alone, right? Like it has to do more than that. It can't be simple.
It could be like destroy all cards played this turn, unreveal this card as well, like that kind of thing.
Sure, but that's like super flashy, right? Like they're just I don't feel like Man-Thing is as unflashy as they get. Man-Thing's pretty damn flashy.
See, Glazer, that's what worries me, though, about whatever direction Marvel Snap ends up going, is that exponential growth where things need to get a little bit more complicated to keep players engaged, especially experienced players who've been around for a while. But then at what point do you end up with a Yu-Gi-Oh card that has a 5-page essay on it, And then
I've played Yu-Gi-Oh. Sometimes those are the funnest cards. Yeah.
Totally, but they're not very.
Wait. What's the first part of your name again?
Educated. Yeah. But you know what I mean? That can be difficult because the large majority of the player base, they're here to play a 3-minute game on the toilet.
Yeah, I hear you what you're saying.
Like,
they don't want to solve like a puzzle,
they want to solve a puzzle, but so they don't want to do a Rubik's Cube with their eyes closed.
In fairness, until we get there, I'm going to trust Glenn. Right? Like, he's done a good enough job at like. So the way he put it last week was, sure, like you could just keep making cards that like another good move card, right? Or you can make a card like Phoenix where like it instead of making another move card, it creates a different move deck. Or like Silk and Craven can create a different move deck from the previous Heimdall stuff, right? Like instead of just having one move deck or one on reveal deck or one whatever, you have multiple decks within that same archetype, and that sort of solves a lot of that problem.
And what you're saying is very valid. Like I do trust this balance team.
For now,
I don't know. They do a really, really good job of trying to keep the game well balanced and also inclusive to newer players. Like the fact some people hate that Shuri Sauron is still a powerful deck, but at the same time,
I'm some people.
I understand though. You need to have something competitive where your regular average everyday Joe that's just playing the game for funsies can still succeed.
So how dare he beat me?
Yeah, exactly. He should be sitting there losing. Dude, two of my former students, one is like 30, I'm just old, and one is 17. Both hit Infinite this season, and then they went and got a bunch of Infinity tickets, but they're early Series 3. They're about to have a real bad time. And I really hope.
Let them experience, a little bit of reality.
Pain. Pain. What's the prescription? Pain. All right, let's keep it going with the show. Okay. So we are going to do the top 10 sleeper decks in Marvel Snap, and here's how this can work. Both Collins and Sal submitted 3 decks. Roy and I came up with 4 more, and Roy's participation was less than it was last time. Again, maybe dying. The decks aren't tier 1 or tier 2 on the Marvel Snap Zone tier list. I double checked.
Did you check? Oh, you did? Okay.
I did. I checked this morning, so I was very sleepy, so if I missed one,
I've changed that.
All right, he just goes in and edits one real fast. We're going to go through them and rank them. This isn't going to be visual on the slides as we talk, but we'll fill it out on the link that's in the show notes, and I'll read them out to you as we go. So we'll continue to explain where we are for them. So as it's your deck, as we hit your deck, we'll start with you reading out the deck list, and then basically we're always going to be comparing 2 decks at a time. So we're going to do the first 2 decks at the same time. Does that make sense for everybody?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, cool. So the decks are, and I'm just going to tell you what the decks are. 1 drop bounce, that's my deck. It is Scuba's deck, but none of my decks are actually my builds, because actually that's not true. One of my decks is my builds. We've got Cerebro 3 Ghost Rider from Collins.
Ooh, love
double She-Hulk from Sal. Oh no, double She-Hulk from me. Excuse me. I should learn what my initials mean. CallMeSal has Galactus and Kazoo. We've got Lockjaw Hella from Collins, which took Lockjaw Hella off the board for me because that was one of the decks I was going to put in. We've got, I didn't know what to call this, so I called it Manhawk. It's basically a Man-Thing Darkhawk deck from Collins. I'm trying not to editorialize about any of these decks, and it's killing me. All right, Move from CallMeSal. Phoenix Forge Kitchen Sink deck from me. And Thanos Gene. This is the Quinny Equinox deck from me.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Deck number 1 will be, I guess, me. It is Scuba's Bounce deck. It is, in the 1-drop slot, Kitty Pryde, Bast, Forge, and Hawkeye. With Angela, Elsa, shocking, Luke Cage, Medusa, and Falcon in the 2-drop spot. Then Beast, Iron Man, and America.
Okay.
I don't see anything wrong with this list.
Classic bounce.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I think people have been sleeping on the Hawkeye too.
Hawkeye's decent, yeah.
I played a lot of this list, and then I sent this list to a lot of people, and everyone kept losing with it. If you check its win percentage, it's terrible, because if you didn't listen, you bombed with this deck. This deck only cares about 2 lanes. It's not running Hitmonkey, it's not running Mysterio. It cannot compete in a 3rd lane.
Yeah, the lack of Hitmonkey Mysterio makes sure that you have to be very selective with what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if you don't get some Bloodstone value before you Falcon, that can be rough. If Beast isn't getting the Bloodstone buff when Beast goes down, I can see a lot of things.
No Bishop is also very interesting, I would say, in terms of
it just wants to keep playing. So the real power of the deck, the main power of the deck, is Hawkeye and Medusa get real big.
Right.
And as Hawkeye and Medusa get real big, if you can pick the right lane to drop Iron Man, and Iron Man is almost always going to be a turn 6 play, because I don't know if y'all. So
you're telling me you're always fighting mid.
Yeah,
we're always fighting mid.
We're fighting mid. If mid is gone, it's a nice quick concede.
Okay.
But no, you don't see Medusa every game, right? And Elsa is still Elsa.
Right.
But if you start with Hawkeye as a 3, right? You're just because of Bast. You're just in a
crazy
really
position.
Yeah.
And if you get an Iron Man Basted and then Elsa Bloodstone, I mean that's 5-6 that turns into a 5-12 is gross.
Yep. I've won a lot of games just doing that kind of thing on top of a Beast.
Iron Man has to compete with your opponent's lane. Whatever lane your opponent's fighting, you have to Iron Man it.
Yep.
And essentially your other cards will be able to kind of deal with the rest.
Then you win.
Yeah. In an ideal world, you have a big Kitty Pryde that can go somewhere else, or a big Hawkeye somewhere else.
Unless I get Elsa going, I ignore Kitty.
Yeah. except for probably to buff up Angela. But
Yeah. But
the
like,
Angela
she's an
kitty-
extra play, not a key play.
It's very interesting because this deck wants to go second,
Mhm.
but I guess there's definitely enough less Alioth that maybe it's not a like too much of an issue.
That was interesting because I was thinking armor would be maybe needed here.
So, Alioth doesn't usually beat you because Alioth is only 3, and you usually have enough other power down by that point that like they need to drop something big to like go over the top of you, as a general rule. And dropping 3 power is just like, all right, well, have fun.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, you're usually beasting on 5, right?
I beast on no,
On
I beast
four-
almost
you beast
exclusively
on
on
4?
4.
Okay.
Because I want Iron Man on 6.
On 6.
Iron Man
Okay.
with one other card is almost always my 6.
That makes okay. So then Killmonger is the concern.
Yeah, Killmonger destroys you. You just go, all
Okay.
right, bye.
I was wondering if you were playing around Killmonger or Alioth, right? Like if you're
Yeah.
popping off on 6, then Alioth's the issue. If you're popping off on 5 and then finishing with the Iron Man, then Killmonger.
I don't know about
Killmonger,
you guys.
Shadow King. Those are
I'm
the
not seeing
two
a ton of
concerns.
Shadow King.
I am.
Yeah, I guess Shadow King has fallen off a little bit for sure.
But so then I wonder about swapping out the Luke Cage for an armor just to be that Alioth protection. But
Yeah, I could see it.
you know, it's kind of 6 of one, half dozen another. It just depends. Like the times when you wish you had armor, there is going to be the other times you wish you had Luke Cage. It just kind of depends.
Yeah, that's how it always is. Yeah, I feel
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to the next deck. We've got Cerebro 3 Rider. Collins, read your deck, please.
All right, so this is coming to us from Reddit. I recently did a video where I reviewed all Reddit decks in the past day, and this was my favorite one, honestly. So it's a Cerebro 3 deck that kind of focuses on the discard Ghost Rider engine to kind of do some big plays. So we have Bast, Blade for 1s. On 2, we have Luke Cage, Def. On 3, we have Cerebro, Cosmo, Moon Knight. On 4, we have Jubilee, not Debris. Jubilee, Ghost Rider. On 5, we have Iron Man, Professor X, and then on 6, we have Alioth. So we do have a pretty heavy end game with the Iron Man, Professor X, Alioth. Keep in mind, we have the Bast to kind of fill in the Luke Cage, the Cerebro, the Jubilee. And the Iron Man hitting those. But we kind of play the early game kind of generic, but if we can get a discard in with the Blade or the Moon Knight, then we can start doing some really cool things with the Ghost Rider and the Jubilee. Like Jubilee pulling something into a Ghost Rider is just really cool. Having Ghost Rider hit Alioth, having Ghost Rider hit Professor X, having Ghost Rider hit Iron Man, those are really, really powerful plays to have in this. And even this Professor X, right, can normally look pretty troll, but if your final turn is like Jeff Cerebro, right, you can just turn that lane into a 10 power Professor X lane, which is nothing to scoff at. So I think it's pretty interesting in my opinion. I think it has a lot of good potential and looks fun to me. It has a lot of tech, which I generally like in decks if I'm going to play it, if I can react to my opponent's game plan, if I know what it is. And you know, there's just a lot of cool cards in here.
This is an interesting one.
Yeah.
I'm always happy when Enchantress doesn't exist.
Yeah,
I mean, she really doesn't, though, right?
That I wonder if you're playing a Cosmo on 3 ever, if you ever get in your own way. You know?
I don't think Cosmo 3 is what you want to be doing. I think if you're Cosmoing on 3, you're kind of sad. I think Cosmo is just more of protection. If you get like a good scenario, then you're like, oh, I can definitely protect myself with this Cosmo. And there's just some decks that just auto lease a Cosmo if you know what you're doing, right? Like if they play Wong, if they're playing, sometimes Invisible Woman's all you need. And like you're like, okay, well, if they play like anything that tells me what they're doing, I'm just gonna put that in there, and then their Hela is not working, things like that. So just having a Cosmo, even if it's not like your main win condition, it's just like something that can surprise people, that throw them off guard. So I like that it's in here. Not that you're going to be using it every game.
The discard C3 always makes me want to be really greedy and run Swarm in the off chance that you get those 0/3s that you can throw down.
The problem with Swarm right now is just Mobius
it's everywhere.
It's just hard to play. So I love Swarm, but just not the meta right now for it. So just can't can't really feel good about having in there when I know there's like an auto lose button that my opponent's playing like 40% of the time.
But is it an auto lose? I think like I don't.
It's not, but like I feel
it's just
bad.
not good
that's
anymore.
A problem.
Yes,
yeah.
it's a feel bad. That's I'm not putting cards in that bully me.
Yeah, that make me feel bad for playing it. Like, Hella does that enough.
Oh.
Yeah, interesting list.
You could beat Hella with this. That's what Cosmo's here for. Cosmo next.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
This is my favorite list from the Reddit. And Reddit, has a reputation, but I wouldn't say they necessarily make horrible decks. And this one was my favorite, and I reviewed like 9 of them, right? So
just like every other platform, you're gonna have people with good takes and people with bad takes.
I've never seen a good take on Facebook. It's not true. It's just not true.
Before we move on, I gotta ask that 6/3. How did you pronounce that card?
Eliath.
That's how you're supposed to, but I say Aliath.
Oh, I hate that.
Well, it's because did you play Final Fantasy VII?
No, and maybe that's why.
Well, so there's like a Sephiroth song where it's like Sephiroth, Sephiroth, and like whenever I say Aliath, I do the exact that in my head, and it makes me Aliath, and like it's perfect because he's so evil, and like it happens in my brain, and it makes me not hate Aliath. So Aliath.
Okay.
Good. You're happy. I know how to say it.
I get berated by chat if I say it wrong. Because I say too many cards wrong. So every time there's a new card, it's like, don't get this one wrong, Collins. Like, don't you dare.
You put educated in your name.
Yeah, just because you're too popular. You're too well known. What are you going to do? All right. So we're going to put one of these decks over the other. Cerebro 3 or the Bounce deck. Which do we think is better?
Can I be biased?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. And I'm going to abstain.
Well, neither one of them is mine.
That's not being biased.
That is being biased. I recognize my bias, so I'm going to put that in account and then not participate, essentially.
Being that neither one of these lists was one I threw in there, I'm personally going to go with the Bounce. I think I would have more fun with the Bounce. Okay. And I don't know, maybe it wouldn't be more consistent, but I feel like it might.
I think I'm really close. All right, we're going to let Sal's decision be it, so I don't just say Bounce and then pick my own deck. I might have accepted Cerebro 3 as the winner here. It's just, so Cerebro 3 has 2 things going for it, in my opinion. It's really good against Hella, and Hella's everywhere right now.
Okay.
And it's really good against Loki, and Loki is Loki.
Yeah.
I just think it sort of auto-loses to some other stuff.
What? It doesn't auto-lose to anything. What are you talking about? I don't even need Cerebro to win. Copium.
That's true. Sure. Those Cerebro decks that don't.
I can put out 9 power. What are you talking about?
I guess I got to try them both out. I got to try and get 9 power on the board. That's my goal.
You got to win with 9 power on the board. All right. You can. I've won like weird games with like barely any power because Professor X stole a lane and they didn't play somewhere, and Alioth just wins.
I have a clip somewhere on my Twitch. I think I won with no cards on the board. I had nothing on the board, and I won the game. It was crazy.
Nice.
You were playing Borrowed No Name, I guess Legion? I don't know.
I can't tell you. It's a secret. You got to go watch the clip.
I am not figuring out what clip that is. I love you. I watch your stream all the time. I love Colin's stream, but he's so popular.
You're too cool.
I'm like, hi, I'm a voice in the void. Hello.
Oh, this one's yours.
And this is sort of mine. It's actually Rocco's. He won a SnapCon with it and came in the top 4 of the Lambie Open. I believe it was the Lambie Open with this deck. It is a high evolutionary deck. Everyone just stopped playing it, and I'm not sure why. That's why I threw it here. So maybe someone can explain to me why this isn't
because Mobius exists and She-Hulk exists. That's why everyone stopped.
I don't care about Mobius. And like, it's just, if you're playing Mobius, I think I can go over it. Whatever. We'll talk about that in a minute. Sunspot and Misty. Jeff, Mobius, and Magic. Cosmo Cyclops. High Evo. Leech. Legion. She-Hulk. And Hulk. So
this looks exactly like my She-Hulk deck. Like not exactly, but like it's I think one card has changed essentially, but that means it's probably pretty good. Yeah.
So can I do my Mobius logic real fast?
Yeah,
So my
Go for
Mobius logic is if I can land my magic, there's very like Snowguard's birds are getting washed away. There's very little Legion in the meta. Magic is relatively safe again. Not like the safest thing in the world, but relatively safe again. So if I can land my magic and then I can Leech or Legion, I can just play Hulk on 6, She-Hulk on 7, or vice versa.
Yeah, the leech makes it interesting because I will say, whenever I play against a deck where they're running magic and I'm running Snowguard, like if I'm playing a Loki deck, I don't Loki. I hang on to him so that I can turn off that limbo. Because normally, if somebody's running magic, it's because they really want that turn 7.
Yeah. That's why the leech is really nice. It's like a way
Real
to like
nice.
counteract that. Yeah,
Because you normally save it till 6.
Yeah,
And then I'm gonna, play the Hawk and some other 3-drop on 6. So yeah, the Leech is pretty dirty, and I think people are forgetting that Legion exists.
Legion beat.
You take one power away, and everyone just hates you now. Like, what happened? I used to be so popular, and then they took one power away from me. Now no one's playing me.
No, I like the list, man. I can definitely see this putting out real good numbers.
So like decent against Loki, right? And if once they know you have it, at least decent against Loki on ladder, because Leech is really annoying for Loki.
Yeah.
Like decent into bounce, right? Like not as great into move, but it sure does shut off Alioth.
And you don't need the negative power from Cyclops if they're running Luke Cage. It's not like make or break that Luke Cage just shuts the deck down. That's for sure.
Cyclops is so good.
Cyclops is great. It's a great card.
If I was going to make one change, I would take out Cosmo and put in Rogue.
Yeah, I could see that for sure.
It's just Cosmo. Occasionally free. I love Cosmo too. I put Cosmo in way too many decks. I put Cosmo in an on-reveal deck.
I can see.
But a free
sometimes other locations matter.
If you can rogue their Mobius and you still get that free She-Hulk, it's just a lot. Fair. And then you make your opponent have to go guessing where these massive Hulks are going to slam down and shake the board,
Yeah, I'm down. I definitely see the reason for Rogue if you're running something that Mobius loses to. I think that's the most common Rogue deck list where I need this Mobius to not be there, so I'll Rogue it away. Like that.
Yeah.
I still just don't think what made this deck so impressive to me. I took it for a spin the other day. Two things. One, everyone completely forgot how to play against Legion, including me. Legion starts happening and Conquest gets the killed. What do I do? Like I'm just losing my mind immediately.
Yeah.
It's just I used to be good against it, I swear, and now I'm back to just feeling like I've never played Marvel Snap again. But beyond that, if your opponent is trying to blow up your if they have Mobius and you just drop Hulk, how sad are you really? Right?
Yeah, just Hulk. I guess it kind of depends on how much you've built up another lane, though,
you've got all these things to build up another lane.
Yeah, it depends. It always depends on the matchup, right? If you build up a big Sunspot and a Misty Knight and then Killmonger comes out and now you got to make, but what?
Killmonger's not real.
Yeah.
Y'all worry too much about Killmonger.
But also, no Destroy decks are probably running Mobius either.
If you're into Destroy, then okay.
Yeah, and if you run into Destroy, Cosmo, their Deadpool, snap and watch them run away.
No, but we have a rogue. We have a rogue,
Oh yeah, you're right. We have a rogue. You're right.
Now I will say I've been seeing way more Shang-Chi's than in the past couple months. In this past month, I've gotten punched way more times than I have in a while.
We could actually cut Mobius just fine here. Mobius does nothing for us.
Yeah. Totally cut.
You could do that, yeah.
Mobius is to be the middle finger to the Loki decks,
Yeah. Look, Loki is real good. He's not going to be on the sleeper deck list. I almost put I don't know if either you know the Swen Loki list. It's my favorite list right now. It's basically Loki that just runs free rolls a Falcon and Bishop, and I love it so much. It's so good.
Interesting. Cool. Yeah, I like the list. I ran something extremely similar in a tournament a couple months back, and I think I got 4th or 5th place. I had Infinite. I did the Infinite and the Hulk, so I made sure I always had some big fat option. You know, I ran Shocker in there as well to try and get an even better curve off of stuff. You can leech on 4 or something. That's always really nice.
I played that deck too.
Yeah, I played the crap out of that deck. I loved it. I absolutely loved it.
Mobius killed Shocker. Just as Shocker was starting to live.
Yeah.
That 2/3 blank feels real bad.
But playing some variation of this deck again could be kind of nice. Now you're making me think I might have to do that.
Yeah, I like it as well. Just think
we're on the list. Oh, sorry, guys.
It's very solid.
I do wish High Evo did something.
Too.
He does. He makes
you know
Misty Knight and Cyclops. And no, High Evo needs to never do anything. The card is
you could nerf
good.
High Evo's base stats and no one would care. Like,
no, it'd be like, oh man. So my favorite thing about High Evo is if you have Sunspat out, it's almost exclusively wrong to play High Evo. Because just passing is the same energy.
Yeah.
Unless, I guess, you get a Zabu somehow. All right. Okay. Is this ranked number 1?
For now.
Yeah.
For now. All right. Our rank number 1. We'll go to Galactus in 1 second. I got to edit lists. I told you I was going to have to do that. All right. So far, so good. So we have double She-Hulk 1, 1-drop bounce 2, Cerebro 3 Rider in 3. Next up, we have Galacti Boy. Sal, read us your list.
Yeah, for sure. Also, by Post Glazer. Yeah, so we got
I have to copy him into Snapson.
Yeah, you go. We got Sunspot, Nebula, the Daredevil, El Jefe, as I like to call him, Jeff. We got Electro, Wave, Shang-Chi, Hobgoblin, Professor X, Eliath, Galactus, and the Orca. Coming in hot there. So this one, I mean, this is like a standard Galactus list. You know, like this would.
It's like Galactus never got nerfed.
Yeah, it's like it's very 2 months ago maybe you would have seen almost this identical list in a lot of different places, and I think people just forget that it still exists.
I mean,
the 2 power didn't make it completely dead in the water, and honestly, the fact that most people expect Galactus to be dead in the water gives you that surprise element again, where now all of a sudden you're like, wait, are you doing what I think you're about to do? And then you're on your knees.
I lost to this list the other day because I forgot Galactus was a card in Marvel Snap.
That's what
I haven't seen it in a month. I could have beaten it easily, and I just was like, wait, Galactus is still I remember that card.
And that was why I wanted it to be on the list, is because that exact mentality is why I think it's decent.
Well, I would say this is a deck you might bring to ranked, but you better not bring to Conquest.
I can't argue with you there. I can't argue with you there. Where on ladder, you're going to have a way better time.
The problem, though, like, at least for me, is like, if you get high enough in ladder, you fight the same people.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
And they know what you're doing. So it stops working for me. Like, if I were to play a deck like this, like, I could definitely surprise a few people, but if I'm playing this the whole day, like, my opponents will know. Like,
but I could also see somebody who maybe is struggling to get to Infinite and really likes Galactus, just like soloing this deck match after match until you really understand your play lines and being able to still at least hit Infinite with something like this.
Yeah, I think if your opponent doesn't know what you're doing, the play patterns are still the same and it works just as well. If you play Galactus into Eliath, like, there's still no answer if they're not playing into that lane. So as long as you're able to kind of set that up, and you can still do that with Hobgoblin. The only thing about Hobgoblin kind of tells you that they're doing something of that nature. But generally, if you are doing this kind of play pattern, as long as you get the cards off, you're going to do well. It's just like, if your opponent can identify it, and then like 5 power, even 13 power in 2 turns is not that impossible to do. So you just have this like window where, hopefully I can make it, and if you can, you're good. If not, then,
I've seen a lot of instances where between the Hobgoblin and the Professor X, you kind of put them in a situation where it's like, do I look left or do I look right? You know, like they're like, oh shoot, where do I need to pay attention to? What's the important thing? Right. And then you want a lane with Professor X now, and then you got a Hobgoblin down. Then maybe they throw down a Cosmo. They're like, haha, I got you. Your Galactus can't do anything. You just drop a fat Orca. And you're like, okay, well, I'll just put 16 power down.
This is the Miss Marvel deck, right?
This one? The one where people give you the thumbs up after?
No. Where
That's
Miss
the Miss
Marvel
Marvel deck.
releases in 2-3 weeks, and Miss Marvel just goes in this deck.
Oh, I actually don't remember what Miss Marvel is going to do.
I feel like Miss Marvel goes in every deck. It gives you
Fair.
+5 power on
In
other
adjacent
lanes. Yeah, if you don't have unique costs in them.
Oh,
If
that's
you do have
interesting.
unique costs in them.
If you do, did
Yeah,
they
you
change
should
it?
have like a 1, a 2, a 3, and then you'll get the +5. You can't have multiple 2s.
Right. But yeah, so if you have nothing in them, you get the bonus.
As far as we know, yeah.
Which I think is disgusting.
Yeah.
Which
I
means
understand.
Galactus is a 10, and you should play that. And then you add Null to this deck.
And you don't always need Galactus to win with this deck. Though.
No, you don't. Right.
And
Professor
it's
X
like-
Orca is good enough as well.
I think there's a lot of people, though, who think that if Galactus is in the deck, that's the only win condition that exists for it.
It's when I was playing into this deck before it got nerfed, I would only lose if they didn't play Galactus. That was my only lose condition. If they didn't play it, if they played it, they lose, right? So, my opponents were definitely aware of that and always like doing something else, like playing Orca or Professor X in a different lane than following up the Orcus. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, just play your Galactus, let me beat you.
It's hard to play around both. Someone in my Discord had a 70% win rate with this deck like a few days ago. Not even weeks, a few days ago.
And so right now, I just think people are sleeping on it right now, that it's still viable. I understand that if you're in like the top 50 on ladder, or you're playing your gold conquest, it might not get you there. But at the same time, if you're sitting down to play some Marvel Snap, you enjoy Galactus, and you want to just have a fun game, you can still make this deck list work. It's not dead in the water just because Galactus lost a couple power.
I think just people don't like fish. Having to think, oh, this was better a while ago. Like, people just don't like having to play those type of decks where you're like, man, if I played this earlier, this would have been a lot better. Shuri had that same problem, right? When Shuri got nerfed, it was like, man, now I can't play Shuri in like my Red Skull in other lanes, and then Shuri dropped down a lot. Then people are like, well, it's still good. Like, I still beat you with my 28 power Red Skull, and
we just talked about
now
Legion.
It's high presence. So
yeah, I think people just need the sting of the nerf to wear off a little bit, and then you need enough people to get caught by surprise.
You just need to start losing to it. That's all it takes. Just start losing to it, and then you're like, oh, it's still good. Apparently.
Yeah. So that's why I put this one on the list. But if you want to hop to the next one, that's all good. That's all I've got to say.
We got to rank it.
Oh yeah, we got to rank it. I mean, I don't think it's number 1.
No,
I don't think it's number 10. So that's what I got.
Well, we've only got 3 decks, so it can't be. So it could be, but so it's not. All right, I think 1-drop bounce is better. How does this beat a bounce deck ever? And like, just bounce has so many more tools.
I'm definitely biased. I don't like Galactus. I don't have the card.
That'll do it.
So I mean, I could have if I wanted it, right? I just don't have the card, so I'm just not a fan of the card in particular. So I'm gonna lower it.
That's okay.
In my rankings. Yeah.
So, all right, Cerebro 3 or Galactus? I actually think that's a lot closer.
Yeah, I that Cerebro list seems really fun. I have a feeling that maybe this Galactus list would still be a little bit more consistent, but I don't know. The Moon Knight adds a lot of variables into that list with just the random discard. I don't know.
So, Jesus, that's close.
We need 4 people.
I honestly don't know. We need a fourth person to decide. Well, Roy went and got COVID, or he would be just like Roy decide. All right.
Yeah.
So
I vote Galactus. Collins votes Cerebro. So now it's up to you, Glazer. You have to pick.
And I'm struggling to decide. All right. Which has more bad matchup? So, all right, I'm going Cerebro because of the meta. I'm going Cerebro because I think Loki is still the best deck right now.
Yeah.
And Cerebro beats Loki, and I think this dies a horrible and sad death to Loki.
Yeah, you don't want to play Loki against this.
Yeah. Do we all agree that Loki is still either the best deck or top 2 or 3 decks? I also think this is bad against the move decks, the Elsa move decks.
It's always been good. honestly.
Yeah, Loki's just a really strong card, and
I don't
mean,
know why they haven't adjusted the card. The base stats are too high. Like,
I have an argument for why.
I mean, I know why.
That's not money. I have an argument that's not like money for why.
Oh, okay. What's that?
I think they're going to eventually lower it by 1 power, but I think the variance in its win rate based on player level is really high, and I don't think they care about us in the same way they care about the high majority of people who think Loki is super fun.
I think they care about us a little bit, but it's hard to have a, you know how they write their little messages after every it's hard to put that in, without it sounding like, it was too broken, we should have done it a while ago.
Well, but also Loki is a deck to itself, right? So like if you're going to adjust Loki without just removing a deck from the game, you have to be really careful.
Yeah, it is nice that Loki revitalized all those like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. cards to a degree.
Mm-hmm.
Like gave them a purpose again. But I could see like a 3/4 Loki instead of a 3/5. It's still gonna get played. Like, you know what I mean?
I would make it a 3/3 Loki.
I personally would probably say 3/3 as well. But like some minor adjustment isn't gonna break anything.
Collector can get a buff back. Like, I don't care. Like, we can give Collector 1 power or whatever.
But anyways, we always have to compare all of these decks now to how do they do against Loki, Elsa decks, I guess.
How do they do against Loki, Elsa? How do they do against Move? How do they do against what else? There's one more meta deck that I'm just not coming.
A lot more Thanos is showing up, and that's adding some spice.
That is weird to me. Like,
I'm about it though. I love it.
I mean, so it's weird, except like Thanos is good with Elsa, and all of the decks we're talking about need space and an early Professor X deny space.
Yep. Yeah. All right, whose deck is this next?
It's my deck. It's Hela Lockjaw. I'm actually a pretty big Hela fan in general. I always seem to like what it does.
I agree with you.
Even though sometimes it just slaps you in the face and tells you to like it. But in the other times, it's a real nice friend. I had this game I won today where I got a Hela randomly, and I discarded a Mobius. A M'Baku, because it was District X, right? And then it discarded M'Baku. I'm not playing M'Baku, so it discarded M'Baku. I also got Hela, and I stormed one lane, and there was one space left, and I was losing by 1 power in that lane. So my final turn, like I played middle. Final turn, I played Hela, summoned the M'Baku to the left, got 1 by 1 power, gave my opponent a thumbs up.
Oh,
toxic.
Oh.
I was like, come on, that was my only win con, and I got my 4 Qs.
And you didn't give him a fist bump with that BS? What a jerk.
I was like, yeah, well, most people would leave, Most people would leave. They wouldn't go for it. But I went for my play, and it worked out. I had to say something.
Sometimes you just bully your opponent terribly. Do you have Silver Samurai or no?
Do I have Silver Samurai? I think so.
I feel like Silver Samurai would be good here, but maybe.
Oh yeah, right. We should talk about the deck. So this is
we didn't actually read the deck yet. We just got lost on that story. Sorry. Go ahead.
So this is a Hela Lockjaw deck. It's kind of focused on just doing Hela Lockjaw things. Classic Lockjaw, I would say. So we have Blade on 1, nothing on 2. On 3 we have Lockjaw, Gambit, Lady Civ. On 4 we have Jubilee, Black Cat. On 5 we have White Tiger, which I think is pretty interesting. And on 6 we have Hela, Chavez, Magneto, Infinite, and then we have on 8 we have Death. Right, so the Death's not really being played. It's just a Lady Civ target for your Hela. But you can still Lockjaw it out. So essentially, it still functions like Hela Lockjaw. I'd say the only like real spice that I would say is that White Tiger. I actually think White Tiger is a really nice Lockjaw target nowadays, right? Like you play it in there, you summon 8 power to a different lane, and then you get another card. Like it's just like Jubilee in essence of how it functions. It just puts the card in a different lane, which is probably what you want more than putting it on the same lane. So I was like, wow, that's a great idea. Like to do that if you have that combo. So obviously this isn't necessarily a deck that has multiple win conditions. So generally when I like to build decks, I like to have at least two like alternate win conditions, like paths to play. I feel like if you don't have the Lockjaw, you're kind of struggling. Like maybe if you have like the God discard into discard, or like discard into Jubilee into Hela, you can still win. But I feel like Lockjaw is really how you're going to win this particular matchup. So it plays more like a combo deck where your only combo is Lockjaw, and if you have that, then you're good. If you don't, you don't. So that would be my concern about this type of deck. There's definitely other Hela decks I've made that aren't single win condition like this one, but Lockjaw Hela is pretty fun to play. You roll the casino, and you see if you slot those 7/7s. So.
The one card in this deck that scares me is Gambit.
Yeah, that's fair. Honestly, Gambit
Samurai.
could be Moon Knight. I will
Samurai.
say, or I feel like you want more things to do on 3. You have enough things on 3 and 4.
Okay.
So I generally, if I'm swapping Gambit, it'd be Moon Knight, and I think that would be particularly fine. It's kind of like the same idea, so you could definitely play Moon Knight like Gambit and still.
See, and that what scares me though is like the discarding the random card from your hand. I'm just like, oh boy, if I hit,
you gotta get used to that if you're a Hela player.
Just hits Hela every time.
Yeah, you gotta get used to that.
It always hits Hela.
I mean, what are you, Matrim? You're not. It doesn't always hit Hela.
You can still win without Hela. Like that's something. I
guess that's valid.
That's possible since you're running Lockjaw. Like the win condition isn't the Hela, it's the Lockjaw. So if you play Lockjaw and then like your next turn is like Gambit Blade, right? Or you play Jubilee on a different lane, right? Like that can just pull you a Magneto, right? Like that's a lot of tempo. And then
so then what are you doing here when you don't hit your Lockjaw till 5?
You retreat.
Yeah, then that's the problem, right? Like that's where. If you're not hitting your Lockjaw early, then you have to kind of hope that you can get this Hela turn 6 in some way, right? So you have to be discarding pretty aggressively, and you have to kind of rely on maybe like a Jubilee random pool, or just like hoping that maybe a turn 6 Hela. I mean, a turn 6.
Yeah.
So wait.
I mean, if you whiff on the Lockjaw and you still discard the Black Cat, Lady Sith hits Death, Gambit hits something, and Blade hits something. I mean, that still is huge.
Yeah, you'll still win, right? But that's like, that's like the God discard roll if you don't get the Lockjaw, right? So
yeah.
Wait, so why no Black Knight?
I don't know, dude. I just made a deck. I just made a deck. You were looking for non-tier 1 decks, and I just, I gave you my list. Black Knight, I think, if you want a serious answer, like I feel like that kind of fits a different win condition in particular than what this is wanting to do. Generally, you have things to do on 3, 4, and 5, so it's not like you need another target. Black Knight is not something you can generally always play into Lockjaw unless you're not going to discard or use the Ebony Blade. So it's a card you can definitely put in there, but you definitely want more things to pull on average, right? The more dead cards you have, the easier it is to whiff and not be happy. So you could definitely play with Black Knight. I'm generally not a big fan of the cards. So it's just like not in my collection. So I'm super sold.
No, it's an interesting list. I mean, I really do like the Lockjaw Hela.
I feel like that's what they were asking. Hey, they're initially.
Look, the win rate on this list. Wait, the win list on this deck is through the roof. You don't have to sell me on this deck in particular. I just thought when Black Knight came in, he would go in this list. That's literally what I'm asking. In my head, Silver Samurai and Black Knight fit in this list. Maybe I'm wrong. That's totally fine. But
no, I see that too.
I do a lot of stats stuff to try and keep on top of the meta. And every time I see this deck, I'm like, why is this still a 60-something% win rate deck? What is happening? This deck's win rate is through the roof. It gets played
by good players, They see the angles, and that's how it works, I'm playing this and other people are like
the White Tiger into Lockjaw is
so good.
Is pretty.
I like that. Right? You like that? I like that too.
Yeah, that's a good look right there. Yeah.
All right, so let's rank this. It's not better than Double She-Hulk. I don't think anyone's going to argue that, right?
Well, 66% win rate. Come on.
I don't think so because you got control over where your big power goes.
Me. All right,
already done. All right, so is it better than the 1-drop thing? The bounce.
I think so.
Maybe, yeah.
That's too.
Where like that's around the angle I would put it, like around that position. So
Yeah, I'd feel confident putting this at the number 2 spot right now.
All right, let's throw that in number 2 and move on to Kazoo 5. It's because it's got Series 5 cards.
Oh yeah,
That's
this was me, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. Oh, I just enjoy a zoo deck.
That's it. I like Zoo.
That's the
I
biggest
gotta
thing.
say,
Go ahead.
in the Reddit review, there was like 2 of these. This was like my favorite deck. This meta. It was this deck basically. I was
Why?
like,
Okay, I have one card that I'm
and
just
they
like, but
all
there
have
should be here.
Sunspot in there. Like, that was the most confusing. They all run Sunspot. I'm like, do you guys need Sunspot in this? Like, that was the most. Like,
He was really good in Series 2.
Because they're all running Sunspot. But other than that, like, this is exactly the list that a lot of people like.
No need for Sunspot, in my opinion.
I agree with that.
Yeah, like why are you floating energy? What are you doing?
That was my
cards.
My confusion as well. I was like, why are they running Sunspot like
there's no need to float energy. I have a soft spot for Kazoo decks because when I first started the game, those were some of the when I was still pool 1, pool 2.
I thought this was the best deck in the game. Like
I loved it. It honestly was just like so much fun to just put out a bunch of stuff and then see it all go big. You know what I mean? Like, so, and this one, sure, there's other versions of this kind of deck that's running Hitmonkey and Mysterio instead of any of this.
I don't even want Hitmonkey. I just want Mysterio.
You know what? Like, it's going to be better, but at the same time, it is kind of just fun to put this stuff out where then you get an Iron Man that's either boosted up by a Forge or by Elsa. Your Bishop can get decently large. And then if you do manage to have like Khazar, Iron Man, and Blue Marvel all out on turn 4, 5, and then 6, it's kind of fun. And then your Kitty Pryde always has space to get played. Like, you're not worried about that really awkward turn 6. I have Chavez in my hand, but I have a decently large kitty. What do I do? You know? And so you can dodge a little bit of the priority there, depending on what's going on.
Killmonger doesn't exist. No stress.
And Killmonger just doesn't exist. I mean, that's the biggest point that we have to remember here is that's not a real card. Yeah, that's not real.
Generally the big weakness, right? Like where
for sure.
Yeah,
I never heard
you
of
have
it.
to be aware of that. But I think this is like very classic Kazoo. Like if you want to build a Kazoo deck, this is like exactly the deck I would give you probably. So I like.
And it's also like it's not overly complicated. So if you're just like, I just want to play a game of Marvel Snap and not be stressed. I just want to play cards and see numbers and do stuff. Like it's there for you.
So Paper hit Infinite with a version of this season.
Yeah, I mean,
like there's no reason why you couldn't hit Infinite with this list.
Anything, you know, so it's like
the amount of bots that you can farm with this list is infinite.
Yeah, you know, so like that's a hard.
Wait, did we read the list? We didn't read the list.
Oh my God, you're right. So in the one
sorry,
drop
audio
spot,
listeners. Sal, go ahead.
Yeah, in the one drop spot, we got a Kitty Pryde, Ant-Man, Bast, Forge, Nightcrawler, and Squirrel Girl. So half of this list, we got one drops. And then for the 2 drops, we got an Angela and an Elsa. For 3, we have just Bishop alone, the only 3 drop in the deck. Only 4 drop in the deck is our Mighty Khazar. And then the 2 5 drops to round it off is the Iron Man and the Blue Marvel.
All right.
There's the list.
Let us rank it then. Okay. I mean,
3.
Okay. You think it's better than the bounce deck? I don't think it's better than the bounce deck.
Yeah, no.
I want to play that bounce deck against this just for funsies.
Okay. We could do that.
We should do that sometime.
I think that the bounce would probably have a good time, honestly.
The bounces probably has more potential to go higher.
Yeah, because I mean,
this doesn't have an answer to going over.
This
the top
goes wide. Yours is going to go tall. You know,
and that's the issue because you'd probably lose the 2 lanes that the bounce fights on.
Yeah.
Like, so the only difficulty is you both have to play. Like if you wanna win, you have to play the Iron Man and the in the lane that they don't put Iron Man in. Like,
yeah,
that's
you
how
have to win a lane with Iron Man, and then you have to have enough spread in the other two that one of them hopefully gets you.
Well, you're going to auto win one lane. Like that's the thing, right? So your focus is you have to make sure you don't Iron Man the same lane.
Yep.
You see, because they're gonna win one lane, but whatever they're gonna focus on 2 lanes, right? And then you're gonna focus on 3 automatically, right? So you're one lane you're gonna win automatically, one lane he's gonna win that he's focusing on, kind of automatically, but he's gonna put resources in, right? But then that third lane, right? Like that's the lane that's scary, right? And if they Iron Man that third lane and you also Iron Man that third lane, then they beat you because they're gonna have more power. But if you Iron Man that second lane and you kind of contest there, then maybe you can win that lane they don't Iron Man. So that's the matchup in essence. Like it's kind of a skill matchup.
You know what's not fun about this though? If you see Elsa on 2 and I don't see Elsa by 3 and you snap, I have to run.
Yep.
And vice versa.
Yep. I mean, it's pretty telegraphed in who's going to do well.
I mean, if you both Elsa, you can play a game, right? But if only one of you sees Elsa, you don't have a game anymore.
Yeah. And I mean, with this list, you don't need Elsa on 2 by any means.
No.
You need Elsa when you're getting ready to fill up your lanes because this isn't a bounce. You know what I mean? You're not getting that buff over and over.
You have Kitty, all right? So you can, and you have Nightcrawler. So you can still kind of mess with that. Yeah.
But ultimately, if you get that Elsa buff 3 times, that's still huge value.
Yeah, that's true.
So, all right, where are you putting this one, Glazer?
I think it's last right now.
All right.
This list? No.
It's better than Galactus and Cerebro? Galactus and Cerebro are married to me.
I see what you're saying. It's
like we don't okay, so here's what's important. So something's gonna up at the bottom of this list. We didn't bring bad decks, right? We're gonna put a very good deck at the bottom. This isn't
Are we also comparing them to? Are we rating them just compared to themselves or compared to the meta?
It's based on our feelings, guys. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
How do we feel? Does this one make you feel good?
Also,
this deck touch you, that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's going to be. It is what it is. This is an emotional list, not a logical list necessarily, and that's fine.
It's a little bit of both, right? Like it's think about the meta, right? Like consider the meta where you think this would place, and then follow your heart.
Yeah.
Is this better? Is this better than the Galactus listen to
the bad news is I was researching these decks, right, for the Reddit, and they were all doing pretty bad. All the Kazoo decks were not doing great. So in terms of meta, this is probably on the lower end. Just because people have answers.
There's better options. If you want to play Elsa, Bishop, Iron Man, Bast, Kitty, there's better shells for those cards for sure.
Another annoying thing is people are running Rogue. I'm just gonna throw that in there. And
that's a good point.
You play the Blue Marvel and they Rogue you, and you're just like, why do they do that? And they're like, you're not playing Mobius, so what
on the
else
flip
am I
side,
targeting?
Mobius doesn't affect this deck at all.
True.
Where Bounce can be affected a bit, not a crazy amount, but if you got a full value beast, that goes away.
I got waved twice today.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I was like, where did you guys are cute. I still win, but thank you for trying.
Wave also doesn't really screw you all too much on this list either.
Wave doesn't exist.
It's fine. Yeah. It's the Killmongers that are really going to mess up.
Okay. So this Cerebro 3 and Galactus, I'm not super intense on the order.
I'm down for this, unfortunately, being last. Yeah.
We could put him in the bottom there. That's all good.
It's the coolest list. All right.
Whoa. Slow down there. That's
okay. This list does not belong on this. This does not belong here. Go ahead.
This is a real list, though.
This is a real meta list. Yeah. Go ahead,
read it first.
Full disclosure, right? He asked, "Hey, bring 2 sleeper decks." And I was like, 3 sleeper decks, and I was like, I can't do that. I don't have sleeper decks.
I was like, I'll pick a different topic. He was like,
all my decks are meta decks. Like, what are you doing? And there's like, okay, I'll change. I was like, no, I'll find something. And I just got 3 lists that I thought were interesting. This one, I would say, maybe is the most cheater of the 3 here, where it's a Darkhawk Man-Thing deck, which is, I would say, something you can definitely see in the meta right now. So it's running Korg as a 1, Luke Cage, Zabu, Jeff, Shadow King as 2 drops, Rogue, Rockslide as your 3s. We have Darkhawk, Shang-Chi, Man-Thing, Iron Lad as your 4s, and then we have Doctor Doom as your only 6. So perfectly functioning deck. You have the Rogue to deal with the Mobius answers if they happen to play, but even if they don't, you still have functioning game plans. Darkhawk really still powerful in this type of list if you're running Korg and Rock Slides. Keep in mind, rocks are just annoying, just generally. And then Man-Thing can target the rocks, so if they decide to play the rocks, well, that's -2 power for you. And then Iron Lad just has a lot of really generically good targets that can do pretty well, and then you just have like options for your turn 6 to go double 3 if they are not playing Mobius, but if not, then you can just play Doctor Doom and have that do well. So,
I like
meta
this.
list. Yeah.
It's one of the 10 best decks in the game.
Honestly,
Period.
like
this deck is sick. This is just for the record, as far as I'm aware, this is Norn's list. Just to give credit where it's due.
yeah.
Sure.
The Korg and the rock slide, honestly, drawing one of those rocks makes me way more angry than any power that Darkhawk could get. Like,
Yeah, I've played
part.
a lot of Darkhawk in my day, so I understand. The random leaves. Dude, the amount of random leaves when they're playing a deck like this, and you're just like, he drew a rock, didn't he?
So I played against a very similar deck recently. It wasn't a Man-Thing version, so they weren't so worried about that. It was like the Darkhawk Mystique kind of deal.
Right.
The last play, I snapped with full confidence because I had priority. I have Rogue in my hand. I'm ready, baby. Yeah. I play Rogue, grab the power from their Darkhawk. Their cards flip over. They play Rogue, grab their Darkhawk back from my Rogue. And then I cried.
I mean, that's just called outplayed. You just
I got outplayed for sure. I got riggedy wrecked. But this deck, I don't know. I don't have Darkhawk, so I can't play it.
Oh wow!
Ooh, you got to get some Darkhawk.
Well, the shining days of Darkhawk have passed a little bit. You can get away without it.
Yeah, that's true. For a while, it was the meta, right?
Yeah.
It's 4 different times.
But I also really like you showcasing the Man-Thing. I think people, it came out.
That was the reason.
Everyone ran Luke Cage, and everyone was like, Man-Thing sucks. But now that not every single deck is teching in Luke Cage, I really think Man-Thing has a place.
Yeah.
I don't think it's bad.
It's not a bad card. It's just like
good card.
If you're running Luke Cage, it feels pretty easy to deal with, right?
You got Rogue.
Yeah,
we do have Rogue. Yeah.
So now my question though is when you have Rogue and they have Mobius and Luke Cage.
And Luke Cage, yeah, that's the question, right?
It depends on your hand, I think, right?
It does.
Yeah, just depends on what you got going on. But that's the interesting one too is when they put them on the same lane. If you're lucky,
they put them in the same lane. And you just say, whatever I get.
I hate that.
A lot of times they'll play something on 2 and you rogue on 3, so you don't have a choice, right?
So,
it doesn't matter.
But when they play them on the same lane, honestly, I dislike that because I want to choose which one.
You want to make sure, that you're getting the effect you want to. Exactly. Yeah. I'm with you.
So it's really fun. On one, dropping a Korg and then looking at their deck size and being like, "Oh, that's Thanos," and then snapping and watching them run away.
I mean, you
rocks in my Thanos. Bye.
You don't even need to drop the Korg to look at their deck list and know if it's Thanos.
But you don't do it until you drop the Korg. You see it.
It's like, this is satisfying. +1. Wait.
Why do it on the first turn? Right?
Like, leave yourself the surprise.
Yeah.
It's so lovely. It's so fun. It's just like this is if Thanos keeps getting good, then guess what's meta again? Right? Like every time Thanos becomes
Killmonger?
meta, Darkhawk is meta.
Killmonger, yeah.
Killmonger wrecks the current Thanos. I don't know why they don't just tech. Like Thanos can tech for Killmonger really easily, and they just refuse to.
A lot of the Thanos used to just want to be Killmonger, kill my card so I could play my dad.
Yeah.
And then Mobius came out and they're like, well, I got this dead. No.
So now it needs it wants Elsa too, so you're killing real power.
Yeah.
My big question now is what's our number one list right now?
I mean, this is number 1, right?
Well, what was it before
right now?
Double She-Hulk.
Ooh, this first double She-Hulk.
This is better into the meta.
You think?
I think this is one of the 10 best.
That one's kind of close, honestly. I like the double She-Hulk is also pretty meta. in essence. Like I think like it's a high evolutionary deck with tech is what I'm looking at it. How I'm looking at it. I think that's pretty powerful stuff.
So
I feel like this list is more susceptible to like the tech cards than the She-Hulk is.
And the She-Hulk is, yeah. And the She-Hulk's also leeching and stuff like that. I could definitely see this being like down a slot compared to that.
I think that the She-Hulk deck beats this. I think into the rest of what's good, this deck is better.
Interesting.
But how does it make me feel, right? And I feel like, She-Hulk.
Well, I always feel like Darkhawk is number one. Darkhawk, I love Darkhawk.
I feel like I would feel something more playing this Darkhawk list than I would the She-Hulk. And you know what I mean? Like,
sure.
But at the same time, but
your meta tendency is telling you the She-Hulk one is a little bit better. So I'm with you on that one.
So we're going to go She-Hulk is better? Okay.
I'd put this half a step below the She-Hulk one,
Okay.
Yeah. I'm down for this being second.
Okay. Second it is. I am outvoted. See, democracy, it doesn't work. All right.
Yeah.
Next up. Also, before we go further, how do I replace Iron Lad is the how do I replace Jeff, and it's going to make my head explode.
It's hard. It's a reasonable question.
It's a good question.
Sometimes the answer is you don't. That's just the answer. You just don't.
Iron Lad, Jeff, they're not replaceable, unfortunately. Sometimes you can like get away with Nightcrawler and stuff like that, but it's not the same. It doesn't solve the same problems, like it can do the same thing. Sometimes you can move it once, but it doesn't solve the same problems, unfortunately.
True belief for Lad.
Yeah.
Does not solve the same problem. Yeah. Like the reason they're replacements is that they're not as good, right?
Yeah. I mean, like, my wife and I have a Living Tribunal Hela deck on her account that got her to Infinite and a bunch of stuff. It's been really fun. She doesn't have Iron Lad, but we put Omega Red in that spot. And I
love Omega Red. I really would love for it to be buffed, honestly.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. But like that's been really fun to like try and find a creative way, but ultimately Iron Lad would just be better.
Yeah.
So you can get creative with it, you can have some fun with it, but you need to be realistic and recognize that it is going to be inferior to just if you had Iron Lad.
And it'd be nice if they put him in Spotlight caches. Just saying.
Yeah, that would be really cool.
They did initially.
Yeah, once. And then they're just like, maybe no one can ever have him again. Just give us money if you want to play this powerful card.
Is this the next one my list?
It is Sal's Moves the Man's. I am unreasonably high on this list, but Sal, read the list first.
Yeah, this is the list that I kept building on when I started playing the game and got myself to Infinite like 3 seasons in a row when I first started. So the first season that I came into Marvel Snap was the Ghost Spider season. And so in that one drop, we have Ghost Spider, Human Torch, Iron Fist. And then for our 2 drops, we've got Kraven, Armor, Multiple Man, and Cloak. Our 3 drops are going to be Doctor Strange, Vulture, Hulkbuster. And then on the top end, we got the Heimdall and the America Chavez. And that's the list, baby.
So if there were like 3 cards different, I'd be arguing for this for number 1.
All right. What would be, just off the bat, what would be your 3 cards?
I want Elsa.
You want Elsa? Okay.
Over Armor. I want Vision over America. And I want Shuri over Hulkbuster.
Interesting. Okay, so what do you seeing Shuri having value for?
Either Vision or Heimdall. A 16 power Heimdall. I've played these lists. I play a lot of like stupid move lists. A 16 power Heimdall wins a lot of games.
That's interesting.
When you Shuri on 5, like you can like they just don't straight up. They don't expect any bullshit, right? And like so, all you do is you say you pile everything on Kraven and don't bother moving anything, and then you Shuri Heimdall.
Yeah, that's
and then like when
fun.
Kraven moves, Kraven gets big, that Vulture gets big, that lane is now 1, right? And you have a 16 power Heimdall also, and it's just like, cool.
My typical experience,
or you
with
can
this
16
list
power Vision too. I guess that's fine.
Is consistently just getting above 20 on all 3 lanes.
Mm-hmm.
That's like what I aim to do with this list. And there's a bunch of like really fun play lines that I've found when you don't hit, like in an ideal world, you hit Multiple Man Hulkbuster every single time.
Well, yeah.
You can, you hit multiple man on 2, Hulkbuster on 3. Let's say you're playing those in the middle lane. Then on your turn 4, you can Ghost Spider to the left and Doctor Strange to the right. And now you added how much power? 24 power on turn 4, spread across the board, Like multiple man can just really make sure you got solid numbers everywhere, but you obviously don't always hit that combo. So if I don't know that I'm going to have Hulkbuster to go onto the multiple man, I usually avoid playing him in favor for trying to get a big Human Torch and Vulture on 2 different lanes. The other fun combo I've seen with this list, if you have small stuff, is I've gone a Iron Fist into and punching Cloak into a Craven. So you play Iron Fist somewhere, you play Cloak on an empty lane, you punch the Cloak into Craven, and then you move Craven with all of your small junk into that completely empty lane, and now you have a massive Craven.
So, how does armor work with the Destroy and Draw 2?
What do you, like if you play
Nico,
and then you play armor as that next card?
It probably wouldn't destroy and probably wouldn't draw 2. It would be
Is it destroy 2, draw 2, or destroy and draw 2?
It should
I think you
2.
have to destroy to draw the cards. You have to meet that condition.
Yeah, that would be very weird if you.
Same way, Altar of Death. You don't get the 2 energy if you don't actually destroy something.
Okay.
So, I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, negative Nancy. Good thing about this is I do like that you get to play the Human Torch variant. I'm a big fan.
It's
you get
destroy
to play
it
that.
And draw 2 cards.
We'll see how it works in game, right?
I already have that Midnight Suns variant with the gold back, so I'm running that one.
Yeah.
Tell me, what are your thoughts, Educated Collins?
So when you look at this deck, right, like it's very standard move. Like it is a deck you could have played before they made any changes except for maybe Ghost Spider, right? And I want to say, like, historically, move has not impressed. Like, just regular move has not been that fancy, not been that good. People don't play it in the meta usually. Like the new move that Craven with Silk and stuff like that has been performing super well, right? And that kind of stuff, like, I think is one of the best, if not one of the best decks. But like regular move with Heimdall and stuff has not really been too fancy. It has issues with being telegraphed sometimes, and just like people know what you're trying to do, and if you're going to win, right, you're not going to win big. So, the stats don't necessarily help this type of deck, and I've just never really been the biggest fan of move decks in terms of like this is meta viability. You can definitely cheese some wins, but people's decks are like a little bit more consistent. They just do what they're going to do every game, where this one is you kind of have to make sure that you're either hitting the right targets or you're fighting really hard for that left lane where, so that the Heimdall can really win you off, and your opponent like already knows you're doing that. Then it's a lot harder to be like, oh yeah, I just get everything I want. So I'm not super sold on this being that powerful. I do think you can obviously hit infinite with this, like no question. Right, and multiple man Hulkbuster is broken. Like that is true. Like that is the amazing combo. But you're not always gonna get that, and you have to play the games that you don't get that, and that's usually sometimes where the problems lie.
I mean the other, like, I've gone back and forth between Human Torch or Dagger, just kind of depending on how meta relevant Killmonger is. Honestly, that's where I slot that out. The Heimdall definitely can be telegraphed. There have been times where I'm like, they think I'm gonna Heimdall, and I just play Chavez.
The Chavez. I've lost to that. It's annoying because it's like, yeah, you can do that, but don't do it. let me win.
And I can tell my opponents are just like, who actually just plays the Chavez on 6?
Yeah,
I mean, I'm like, well, my Vulture was already at 13. He's big enough. You know what I mean? I could get him an extra +5, but 13 is fine. I've just had a lot of fun being creative with this deck and the play lines and being able to move things around accordingly. I mean, I've had times where I got Vulture and Armor on one lane and I'm playing a destroy list and playing against a destroy list. Hey, I had priority. I Doctor Stranged my stuff over to where you were just trying to destroy, and now my armor just came with.
Yeah.
Like, so even being able to move some of these other cards that normally would be so fixed in place can be really, really fun. So yeah, it's definitely not going to be at the top of the list. I will say it
think it's
is
in
an
the middle.
interesting one where I don't know if Loki wants these cards. Because by the time Loki is going to Loki, you've filled up enough of your board that it can just be awkward.
So
some of the cards are okay, right? Like some are just good base power. Like if they take
sure.
a Heimdall Chavez, stuff
well,
like
and,
even
and the
Hulkbuster.
0 cost Ghost Spider and Iron Fist are
Right.
nice.
That's
Yes.
true.
So it kind of just depends on how full up on board
Full,
space your
yeah,
opponent
they are,
is when
yeah.
you get to that point, Because if they do manage to, like you're saying, get a 0 cost Ghost Spider, Human Torch, and Iron Fist, and they could do that full combo, but
Yeah, that's disgusting.
that's gross. But also, how often is it going
Are
to,
they gonna-
it just kind of depends.
I can Loki with 7 cards on my Loki bounce. All right.
Yeah. So I just really think that I'm not going to fight and say that this is like top of the list, one of the most competitive things, but I think it is a fun list if you enjoy move decks. And
It's
I think,
a nice guy, Like,
yeah, and I think you can consistently get above 20 on every lane, assuming they don't, Professor X you out of moving your stuff.
That's true.
So I have a buff suggestion. Cloak shouldn't affect your opponents anymore. Like, we're at a point in the game where Cloak should just affect you.
But that's
That
so
would be-
strong.
that would be huge.
You mean like freaking Space Stone?
Yeah. I don't mind it sometimes in this particular list, only because a lot of the times I'm using that cloak location to get Craven value.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've had many a game where Craven's at 12 at the end of the game, and
Right.
that's a big fat Craven. So
My
I
big
don't
fat
know.
Greek Raven.
I just think that this is another one too, where the more you play it and the more you get kind of used to the play lines, the more you see like, oh, I could even get creative. Where then on that last turn, on turn 6, maybe I'm playing just Doctor Strange where I need Doctor Strange to be, to get that giant vulture where I need it to be.
I am such a Doctor Strange hater.
Me too.
Are you?
Doctor Strange is my least favorite card of this deck.
Like Iron Fist and Ghost Spider has just been like, why am I playing this? Like I could have a 1 cost version of you.
But the amount of times, man, where Doctor Strange pulls 2 8-power multiple mans is it's huge value.
That's true.
Also,
Doctor Strange should
you move
cost 2.
Vulture once, and you have a multiple man with a Hulkbuster. Guess what? They're both 8 power.
Doctor Strange
but I mean,
should
I feel
cost
like
2.
you're already winning at that point. But yeah, that's true. Like that
If
is
Doctor Strange costs 2.
That is a
even
game ender. That's
if
a
Doctor
game
Strange
ender.
was a 2/2, that would be incredible.
He should be a 2.
Yeah, if it was a 2/2, he'd be very played, I think.
He should be.
Yeah.
It's Doctor Strange. Make him good. All right, whatever. Let's rank this one. I think this is right around Galactus and Cerebro 3.
Yeah. What's our list right now? Read me off the order.
Double She-Hulk is number 1. It's not
Okay.
better than that. Manhawk is number 2.
Yeah.
Lockjaw Hella is number 3. 1-Drop Bounce is number 4.
Sure.
Cerebro Rider. Galactus as number 6. Kazoo is 7. And now we are placing Move.
Ooh. I'd be very curious to playtest this against 1-Drop Bounce. I'd be very, very curious to see how this did in that matchup and which one can
Depends
go
if they
more
know
vertical.
what you're doing.
Yeah. I think even the discard Lockjaw Hella list is going to just put out big numbers sometimes
More
that it's just
power,
going to be
yeah.
hard.
Yeah.
This is around 6 for me, I would say. 5 or 6 is probably where it's around.
Yeah, I feel like that's safe.
I think ahead of Galactus. Is that crazy that it's ahead of Galactus?
I don't think so.
Nah. I'm
Is
not
it
a Galactus
ahead of
fan.
Cerebro? Okay.
I think so.
But
that's personal. I'm extremely
I can see
biased.
I
Because
can
like I
see it,
said, I got to Infinite with this list when I didn't have Human Torch or Vulture. I was
but
just...
you see, that Cerebro deck would win, I will say. Like we
got to
have
do this,
Professor X
Collins.
and Cosmo. Like,
All right. You're
that's a good point.
definitely
The Cosmo,
right.
Cosmo gets in the way.
I'm sticking it below Cerebro 3 on the... Like, my ultimate tiebreaker is against Loki and other move decks. Is like what I've been coming down to, and I think other move decks, like I think it's a closer matchup than Loki, but I think Loki is just happy to see this.
Yeah. All right. What's the next list we got? Or the next, the next deck list.
Bring me another.
Kitchen sink. This is my favorite list.
Kitchen sink.
It is terrible on ladder.
So we're throwing everything else at them.
Fantastic. That's why I named it that. And amazing in Conquest.
What am I looking at?
Wait, let me read the list. It is Human Torch, Carnage, Multiple Men, Venom, Deathlock, Shuri, Phoenix Force, Taskmaster, Nimrod, Red Skull, Zola, and Chavez. So
this is a triple combo deck. Okay.
And also, it's just say whichever combo I get, stop me and try and play around every combo when you're not sure which I'm going to do. I drop Shuri. Are you going to Shang-Chi me?
Multiple Man being in a couple of these lists makes me really happy. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I have the base card Multiple Man split like 10 times. I got it inked. I got it gold back.
Nice.
I love me some Multiple Man.
All right.
I play the race. I have the racing multiple. I'm down to 19 variants cards that I don't have variants for. I've decided to, instead of like actually making money on Marvel Snap content, just give it back to them to get variants.
Strategies. Eventual payoff.
Eventual payoff. STG is going to put me on the collector, and then I'll have made it.
So Glazer, talk us through the 14 different win conditions in this deck.
Sure. You either, Human Torch or Multiple Men and eat them. Then you play Phoenix Force and win.
Yep.
Or you just play some decent cards, and then you Shuri into Red Skull, and then you play Taskmaster and win.
Easy. All right.
Or you play Shuri, and then you play Nimrod, and then you play 2 of Deathlock, Venom, and Carnage, and win.
Or you could Zola.
Or you could Zola. I Zola a lot of Human Torches and a lot of Red Skulls.
Oh, that's
I had magic in this for a little while. So in some games you can just be like, all I have in this lane is Red Skull and Shuri, and you'll just be like, well, if I hit my 50-50, I win, right?
Yeah. Sometimes that's all it takes.
Honestly, though, my favorite line with a deck list like this, because I have a similar list that I almost submitted for this, is when you get that Human Torch brought back by Phoenix Force and you get it real big, and then you just Zola
powerful.
You can Zola or task it.
Yeah.
Either or.
Yeah.
Sometimes the whole play line is freaking Torch, Carnage, Phoenix Force. Wait until last turn to play Taskmaster.
Taskmaster, yeah.
It's so stupid. Yeah, it's so I've got an Infinity border with this, and like multiple other people that I've talked to have. It's junk on ladder. It's like the hardest thing to play on ladder. But when you can just say, I retreat for one. I retreat for one. I retreat for one.
I got that combo.
Oh, you want to stay in it? Let's do it. You just destroy them in Conquest. And like, I mean, I guess someone could have the discipline to just lose for one when you snap, but it seems like no one does.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, pretty early, and if you're playing Conquest, you can tell if they have an answer or not.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, do they have an answer? Can they beat Human Torch at all? Oh no, do I auto win with this setup? Time to snap, right? Like, so it definitely has that advantage of like putting scenarios out there that can you beat this? No, you just win, right? So as long as you're willing to retreat for one.
There was that Darkhawk meta, right? Like a little while ago, where Darkhawk would beat almost everything, but just died to like Shuri Nimrod, right? Like that's when I started doing this, because like I was just like, all right, cool.
I don't think I would ever have the balls to Zola on the Shuri whatever.
On the 50-50?
Yeah. I do all the time. Like a 50-50 is not bad odds, right? Like
it's if you're bad, like, yeah, especially if they're like snapping you or something. It's like, like game ends. Okay, sure. Like,
like beat me. All right, 50-50. I win a bunch of cubes or I lose a bunch of cubes. Let's go. And like a lot of times the opponent doesn't have the guts and they just run away.
Yeah, that's
right?
True, right? Like,
and like, cool, good for you. You figure it out.
Here's what's interesting to me with this list in particular is doing the math. If you have destroyed your Multiple Man and you've got Phoenix Force and Shuri both in your hand, mathematically, is it better to play the Phoenix Force and get an extra move, or is it better to double it and get one less move. And I think if I remember crunching these numbers, it's actually better to Shuri it.
Yeah,
So
I'm
it
pretty
is?
sure double it is usually going to be better.
But I usually don't. I usually get Phoenix Force out, and then I can still play Shuri on 5 and drop something else huge.
Yeah, the only scary thing is like you open up Shang-Chi if you do that, right? So
Yes.
you
Although
can immediately lose that lane if they
is Shang-Chi real? But also remember, this is a conquest game in general for this deck, right? So like if you're in conquest, like
you'll know.
Yeah, you should have some idea if they have Shang by the time you're really committing to that kind of thing. You make the plays without the like Shuri of it early on, and then later in the match, once you're sure they don't have a Shang, you just get greedy.
Yeah. Shuri Nimrod is just annoying, honestly, of a thing to do. Like every time I see him, like whatever.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Shuri Nimrod's hard annoying.
To beat. It's a strong combo that I'm glad that we have a Nimrod list right now that we're talking about. Like, I'm glad it made the cut, and a Phoenix Force.
Is it crazy to cut Zola for Nico? Like, it's not, right?
It does the same thing, you destroy as well.
Yeah. Like I don't know. Like it's like the +2 power has value, the move right has value.
Well, yeah, you can definitely like. What is the weakest card? Probably the Zola is the card that comes out the least.
Well,
I would say
is like generally obnoxious, except I feel like you need the third destroy.
Well, yeah. I mean, Deathlock kind of fits in. Like it activates your Nimrod and the multiple man, so it kind of makes sense. So I wouldn't get rid of that.
I don't know if you can. Like, I guess you could cut Zola, but I don't know if that's a good look there.
Oh, he's not important. He's like almost certainly an extra card.
The win conditions are everything else, right?
Yeah.
Like you like Shuri Red Skull Taskmaster win condition. Shuri Nimrod double destroys the win condition. Shuri, well, not Shuri, but like destroy into Phoenix Force and then move it around is a win condition. Like if you go like multiple man Deathlock Phoenix Force and then move, like that already like can get you there without having to Zola at all. So feels like Zola isn't necessarily needed, even though it can be nice.
But it's so much fun.
It is fun, right? But he's asking if you could play Nico or not. I think it's possible.
Yeah, I like this.
I'm gonna try this with Nico. Is what's about to happen by the time anyone has heard this episode, but us. Except I guess Roy has to edit it. So, all right. Okay. So, where are we putting this? Don't ask me. I'm gonna put this way too high.
Shoot. Again, now we're adding in extra variables too, because now we're talking about whether or not a list is going to be good on ladder or on conquest, and now we're adding in just so many variables here.
How does it make you feel? Yeah.
This deck makes me feel good inside. It does.
Yeah. This is the Sino Montana of lists. Is how this list is.
I'm leaning 4-5. With it right now.
Just put it right next to the other move multiple man list, and I'm happy.
I think it's better than Cerebro 3. Yeah, I think it's better than Cerebro 3 too.
Oh,
I would argue that it's better than the bounce deck, but I'm not 100% sure.
Oh, I think this is better than the bounce.
Yeah, you're getting closer to like where I would have issues, but you haven't. I don't have issues yet with your.
Yeah, I think this is better than the bounce.
I think it's a toss up between this and Lock Trahella. I think this usually beats Lock Trahella.
Yeah, I would. Good question. Actually, I would put it right next to that. I think. For me, those two would be tied.
I'm down for it being above, right? Like I'm in 4 or 5 position.
Dropping stuff
where it is, right? Like whatever is in that area.
Well, Lock Trahella is 3, so that would put it in. 3.
Oh, is it? So I'm down for this being 3 then.
Okay. Yeah, I'm down.
And then it's not as good as the Darkhawk list. Let's
get weird with it. Let's put this at 3.
All right, we've only got one list left. Our last list is Peaceful Seas version. Quinny has a version. I talked about Quinny's in a video yesterday, so I decided to go with Peaceful's version of Thanos Jean Grey. Thanos Elsa is the list, right? But like I'll tell you what the cool thing this list does. Let me read it first. It's Angela, Elsa, Goose, Jeff, and Mobius. Storm, Jean, and Spider-Man. Professor X, Vision, America, and Thanos. And in the current meta, against like everything but Loki, although even Loki, if you have Mobius out, Jean and Goose on turn 5 is fucking backbreaking.
Slept on.
Like they
Now,
just
what
can't play
happens,
their
though?
6.
But because Jean's verbiage is the way that it is, can they play their 6 elsewhere?
No, if they have a card in hand that can be played under there, it has to be played under there.
But it
will
can't be
not let
played
you
there
play
because
the
of
6.
Goose.
It can be played there because
Oh,
if they have a card
basically, if they have a card like a cheap card to be played, they have to play it there. They can't play their 6-drop basically.
Oh,
So it's
I
like
promise
waving
that's how it
them.
works.
that's
Yes,
interesting.
It's nuts.
That's really
The only
interesting.
downside is you're playing 5 power on 5, right? But like
you could also split it up, right?
Yeah, the upside is like you do get this kind of lockable scenario.
And if you've got an Angela there or an Elsa there, right?
Yeah,
Like you're getting much more than 5 on 5,
right?
For sure. No, this is I want to try this.
This is
list.
interesting. Yeah,
it's super fun.
Interesting for
it gets a lot of retreats.
Yeah, I
and
can see that.
It's also just like, hey, Storm and Professor X are pretty damn good, right?
Yeah, I also had no idea what this was doing when you talked about it. Like, I was like, what is this deck supposed to do? Like, obviously you can lock a lane and stuff like that. But
Quinny is fairly
as
brilliant.
you talk, it makes more sense.
Yeah. I think I'd probably run Alioth over something. I don't know what. I'd have to really sit and think about it. I'd probably run Alioth over something. Maybe Spider-Man, maybe...
Nah, I think you want the Spider-Man.
Yeah, I want everything. That's the problem, right? But I want...
it'd probably be Chavez if you really wanted to.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
I was thinking Chavez too, but at the same time, like, when you play a Thanos list and you don't draw a single stone until, like, turn 4, that sucks.
But I don't think you want to be playing Alioth here because... essentially,
you almost said Alioth. I heard you.
Yeah, that's because you've been repeating that constantly.
I'm infecting you.
But generally, they're not playing their 6. Like, and you're also not playing your 6 in that same lane, right? Like, so if you set up this Jean Grey, they have to play in that lane, but you can't play Alioth in that lane. Like,
I don't think you need Alioth here, to be honest.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't think you need it. So,
alternate win condition for me in my head is if I go Storm, whatever, Professor X, right? If I can either win that Storm lane or that X lane,
it's great. Yeah, and
then
but then you have to be winning that 3rd lane by 3 power, which is
that's what else is for.
Reliable.
And the only way that you're getting extra power into the Professor X lane is going to be the Jeff. But I could definitely see situations where with all of the other Thanos stones, maybe Professor X is your 3rd card on that lane. So if you do need to add extra power in there, Jeff's going to be a 6 if you got Elsa down.
Professor X is the 4th card relatively often, but that's the Psylocke versions of the deck.
Yeah. No, I like the list. Honestly, I was thinking for my next stream, which will be tomorrow in real time, whenever people are watching this.
So yesterday.
It will already happen. Yeah. I was thinking of doing a Thanos only stream, and I think this one might have to be.
Oh, I have so many Thanos lists. You should just.
Yeah. I think that might have to be the
This
thing.
looks fun to me. Yeah. I'm down for it as well.
Number 1.
I don't know because I haven't seen it in action. I don't know where to put this.
Yeah, we didn't say that.
He said, "Nah."
Thanos is so fun. I love Thanos.
I would. I have no idea. Yeah, I have no idea because
it's a little cheeky for me. But I'm leaning like 5-6 in that ballpark.
So Cerebro 3 Rider, better or worse?
Better than that. Yeah.
Yeah, better than that.
Better or worse than Bounce?
Yeah, that's where the questions lie.
I think.
Yeah, that's where
I think that would be a really, really interesting matchup that would just be completely dependent off of who drew what when
on player diff. Yeah,
Storm and Professor X are pretty good against Bounce.
Yeah,
but that's not necessarily how we're rating it. How do we feel?
Yeah,
I love that you are very feelings focused today.
I'm a feels.
I'm going to put this above Bounce in my head. I'm going to tell myself it's above Bounce.
I'm going to put it above Bounce because it's cooler.
Yeah,
that's all I need to hear. Yeah,
All right.
that's
Yeah.
all I need to hear.
So we have a top 10. So I'm going to show everyone a blank screen, but I will read it to you. Number
All right.
1 is the double She-Hulk in I consider a true upset. I did not expect that to finish number 1. Number 2, Man-Hawk. Number
Yep.
3, Phoenix Force, Kitchen Sink, and now the members of my Discord, just a little cheer. That's like our pet deck. Number 4, Lockjaw Hella, which is almost certainly too low. Number 5, Thanos Gene. Number 6, Scuba's One Drop Bounce. Number 7, Cerebro 3 Rider. Number 8, Move. Number 9, Galactus. Number 10, Play the Kazoo. I'm telling you, Kazoo ended up too low. Whatever. We happy
all
with the
good.
list?
Yeah, I'm happy.
Yeah, I'm happy with it. I mean, honestly, I feel like if you play any one of these 10 lists, you're going to have a good time. Like,
Yeah.
Unless you lose, then I would say nothing.
Unless they play Loki and play your list better than you, then you're just sad.
then that's the thing. Then you retreat. But ultimately, I would say also with full confidence, I'm going to say it with my whole chest, any one of these 10 lists, you can make infinite. Like if you're
I
struggling for
agree
your
with
climb,
that. That's fair.
if you like focus on actually, this is the biggest thing I feel like people struggling to get to infinite. They play too many things. Pick like 3 lists and only play those until you really understand their matchups, their play lines, and everything. If you pick 3 of these 10 lists and you only play those, you'll get to infinite.
As long as you have
Retreat.
seen that you have won with those lists at any point. Like sometimes people pick lists and they just lose 20 in a row. And they're like, "What's wrong?" And then you look at the list and they're like, "Yeah, change this and this."
Yeah.
Like, so yeah, if you can win with the list in period like at all, then yeah, you don't have to change anything.
But these 10 lists,
These 10
sure.
lists, they fit the criteria for sure.
Yeah.
So it's also worth noting the single most important thing you can do when climbing is retreat.
Yes.
Everyone I know who struggles climbing, they're just like, but I keep staying in to see what they have. Homie, there's only so many lists in this game. You know they have Alioth. Just run.
As my chat likes to tell me, curiosity costs cubes.
Oh, well put.
And that's the truest thing. And there's some times where I'm willing to pay those cubes because my curiosity is there. But
Me too,
ultimately,
I'm infinite. What do I care?
Yeah. If you're trying to climb, then you can only be curious so often.
Well, I do think like long term, it's better to be curious because if you don't know what they're playing, then learning like, oh, this is a deck I haven't seen before is I think worth 8 cubes sometimes. Like
Yes.
Sometimes,
definitely
but
2.
not all the time.
Sometimes 4, 8 cubes. Depending on
How often
confusing the deck is. Yeah.
How often are there decks you've never seen before in Marvel?
That's what I'm saying. Like, and that I've done that by
I
losing
agree.
multiple cubes over the months.
Yeah.
Right? And after a while, then I'm like, okay, I know exactly what he's playing, and then I don't have to stay anymore. But like, especially as a new player, like learning what your opponents are playing is definitely a great experience. So it's something I would do.
I have a different, like, interesting relationship with the snap and retreat mechanic. I think it's one of the coolest things for any trading card game I've ever played. And because I played a good amount of poker in my day too. And retreating, I mean, dude, you fold so often when you sit at a poker table.
Yeah, but you don't see people crying like, I got to fold here.
I got to fold. Like, yeah, like it's just like, no, that's just how
that's just how it goes. Yeah.
So I hope more of that culture makes its way into Snap where people like, I folded for 1 cube. That's a win in my book,
Yeah, that's how I feel.
Oh, I spent all morning snapping. I was playing the fucking Loki bounce. And I was just like, oh, cool, location, snap. And just watching people run. I was like, we're infinite. You got to at least go for 2.
The other thing is that there are times where you can snap because you got a good opening location, you got a good opening hand, and the combo's there, and you still need to retreat later. And hey, guess what? That's okay.
Oh, yeah. People don't do that.
Yep. I snap all
okay.
the time. I snap on like 2 constantly, and then I'm like, screw you, bye.
But it's okay to snap and then need to retreat later because the board state changed.
Yeah. People seem to think like that is like a defeat on your soul or something where it's like
so dramatic.
Yeah, you can leave, like it's fine. I remember snapping turn 5, leaving turn 6. Like, yeah, okay, maybe I messed up. Like, but yeah, I'm still gonna leave.
Oops.
But I'm still gonna save myself a couple of cubes. Like,
oh wait, you had that? Bye.
But if you snap and then retreat the thumbs up. Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
it's wild.
Anyone who really cares about that stuff always kind of boggles my mind.
Yeah, man. I'm here for a good time. I'm here to play some cards and look at pretty things when I upgrade them. Like, I'm here for fun stuff. So, but dude, this was fun, man. I really appreciate you having me on the show. It was really nice to like look at a few different off meta lists, you know, that we can just screw around.
We're not done. We got nearing like 3 hours at this point.
With 17 hours. Well, if you let me go, we can get this done with. Let's go. All right. We have variant of the week. We chose our favorite Nico Minoru variant. I am the first one, so I will go first. This is Peach Momoko, and it is the best. It is fantastic. I love it. And
well, apparently, everyone disagreed with you.
No one agreed on anything.
It's good, and I could see that being one of like the best ink splits in the game. That's going to be a hot ink split.
Or gold, right? Like if it keeps the black with the gold around it.
If it keeps the black with the gold around it, 100%. If the black just turns gold as well, I'll be sad.
Yeah, that's disappointing.
You know how it is. Like, don't get your hopes up.
I'm not.
My hopes are through the roof. All right, second one. Who's second one?
That's me. Though I also like the third one. It was between the second and the third one.
The third one was me.
Yeah, I agree. But
I was between the third and the fourth because I do like the Midnight Sun.
All right.
I'm a fan. But yeah, they're all good though. Like I would not be upset about any one of these.
Be a little upset.
I wouldn't actually be sad about any of these.
Collins, which one would you be like, man, why'd I get this shit?
Out of these, none of them.
Okay.
Well, maybe the fourth one, actually.
So the fourth one is Roy's. Nico is like his favorite character. So I messaged him to be like, hey, Siki, what's your favorite Nico?
Yeah, and Roy said the Midnight Suns.
Yeah, because he loves the video game.
Yeah, wife and I just started playing it recently, and it's actually really enjoyable. It's a fun time.
I make Marvel Snap content. I'm a father, and I grade papers. Those are the only things I do.
That's all you got, baby. That's
all
fine.
I got. I miss video games. Come back to me.
Marvel's Midnight Suns, right?
Hmm?
Oh, that game.
Yeah, it's a game.
Oh, yeah. I was almost going to watch a playthrough of this.
Yeah, dude, that's a real game.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah. It's a card game. I was like, this looks kind of fun.
It's going to be great. I have no doubt.
Didn't want to go download it, so yeah.
I just don't have
dope variants. I'm excited.
I'm very much.
The chat has no idea which ones we're talking about. But
yeah. So we're talking. I don't know what they're called at all. So like,
you knew the first one, so I was like, I thought you researched them all.
You said a Peach moment, okay?
I did.
We said a Midnight Suns. That's all. So
the Midnight Suns is the last one. One of them is the third one. Sal's pick is the
one with horns.
No, yes, but it's also the one that is in the Spotlight cache. That's the Spotlight cache because I just did my video on this last night. Right. So like, and then the Nico that Collins chose is the one that's going to be a super rare in your shop probably as you're watching this.
Dope.
That tells them a lot. I appreciate.
So it does because they'll like look in their shop and be like, oh, it's that one. It's the red background with the dress.
I'm excited, man. I'm excited to see this card, and I'm excited to see people screw around with it and decide if I want it or not.
Oh, I buy every card at this point. I whale out. This is my cards now.
I buy none of the cards.
I know you do it. You do the best content with it. It's really fucking annoying. Just tell you, I buy them to try and test them to be able to like form educated opinions. You're like, here's something smarter than you thought of, even though I don't know them. I'm like, screw you. Just screw you. Thanks. I need that. Thanks. All right. So, Collins, this is the wrong order every week, but tell us why people should subscribe to you.
I'm a nice guy, you know. My content's funny some days. The intro is good. The outro song is also pretty swell, I would say. Shout out to John White for creating that. Other than that, there's really nothing else going for me. So I'd say those are the top sells. So
I'm gonna sell Collins since he did the worst job on earth.
I thought I did a great job.
Great job. It's all about feelings and vibes. All right. So, if you like to know about Snap, then you follow Collins, right? Like, I honestly don't know a single high level player who doesn't follow his stuff. Like everyone I know, like it's like, oh, the new Collins drop, and then we all go watch it, and then we talk about it. One day I will be one. Yeah, it's not a joke. Not like every video, right? Because like no one has that kind of free time. But when you do the like, should you buy a new card? Like it's like authoritative because you think about the game on an extraordinarily high level, right? Like when you do this deck is like really good. There's never like, I wonder if this is clickbait. It's not. Go play the damn deck.
I'm not. That's like not my goal. If I think it's good, then I'll say it, right? And if I don't, I'll never say it. So like basically, I can't make any deck videos and say it's good unless it is good. Yeah.
So well, you have to because the stupid thumbnail is the only thing that matters for the first like half of it, right? But even beyond that, like actually watching it, if he says a deck is good, it's not that like he's not like okay. You can tell I've watched a lot of your videos, but like when you're like this deck, like you're literally just like, so like this deck is, and then you like pause, like you're trying to figure out how to not be hyperbolic. But you're like, this deck
it's hard to say a deck is good without like 20 caveats, like,
and just like it's really, really high level content. I straight up stole doing slideshows from him. Like my content's level up was literally just like, Collins is better than I am, and he does slideshows, and I'm not doing gameplay because I have a full-time job. So I'm doing slideshows now too. His are still better than mine, but it's top-notch content in fundamentally every way, and that's without like getting into the stream, which is again like super high-level play. If you weren't so nice and like so charming, you would be so hateable for being so good at all of the content stuff. That's my sales pitch. So like he's amazing at all the content stuff. You should follow him.
Effort, sweat, and tears, and crying.
When I asked you a question, you were like, "That would be 6 hours of research. I will do it in a video soon." I was like, "Yeah, of course he will."
So he's a good guy. He's fun to watch on Twitch, and he actually knows what he's talking about because he's educated.
Like far more than actually knows what he's talking about. He knows what he's talking about more than almost anyone.
Collins, before we like move forward, what's your other background with other card games? I know this is not what this portion of the podcast is for, but
who cares?
Well, before I was playing Hearthstone, Arena essentially, and then Battlegrounds, which isn't a card game. But before that, like the base card game that really got me into card games was Yu-Gi-Oh! Played a ton of Yu-Gi-Oh! I remember where Dueling Network was like very popular. I would play that a lot. They give you all the Yu-Gi-Oh cards to test with, right? And you can play ranked.
I remember that too.
Yeah, tons of fun, right? So I was like enjoy a lot of that. But I play a lot of other card games, just generally. But strategy games have been my like. I have two brothers, right? And that's really what I'd play with and beat them with, right? And it's like they stopped playing with me because I'd always win, right? Like I remember. So often we'd get a new strategy game. We'd play one round, and then like after I'd win, and they're like, "Collins broke the game." Like every time, I'm just like, "What are you doing?" I'm just using the resources.
I just read
they gave to me.
I read the words and I did what they said.
And so like if they ever did a second round, it's just like copy Collins' strategy, for them going on. So it's just like it wasn't fun because they're just. Yeah, I play toxically, unfortunately.
Well, I might need to jump on your brother's bandwagon and start copying some of your gameplay stuff from Marvel Snap.
It's a real good idea. It's a real good idea.
We love that.
You can find Collins on twitch.tv/educated_Collins and on YouTube at EducatedCollinsSnap.
EducatedCollins That's the one.
It's a great song.
I like the jingle.
It's a great jam.
Yeah,
it's a jam.
Like the...
Sal, why should people follow you?
Well, for right now, the YouTube it's coming. There's just a few shorts on there, but that is my goal for the near future is to start building out the YouTube. Probably going to do like 3 days a week over on Twitch and then start trying to make some other content for you guys. But the Twitch is really a great time. I've had a blast doing it so far. And I will say, we call everybody in there Sal's Pals. And it's been some of the coolest people in the community that I've just been pulling through. We usually got fun, upbeat music that we're jamming along to, having a good time. And honestly, like, I don't know. Maybe I'm biased here because I'm the one behind the camera, but I feel like usually the people hanging out are having a good time too. So we've had some great like off-topic conversations while I'm trying to still play the game and not completely suck as we're talking about like, the state of the world or whatever it is. But yeah, Twitch is where it's at. If you guys ever want to pull through and come hang out for a stream, highly recommend it. We'd love to have you.
Okay. I've got 2 comments, right?
Ooh.
So in terms of YouTube, right, I think it's great to always just start that, even if it's not like consistent. Like just having something on YouTube that like, hey, this guy made this deck list that's doing really well right now, right? So I just say like, even if it feels scary and you don't know like how the quality is going to look like, it's always good to just start and like begin that process, right? So I would like just encourage you to do that. And another thing, very recently on TwitchCon, they said that it's now possible to stream on any platform.
Yeah.
So that's something we probably should start taking advantage of, especially if you're going to start doing YouTube, right? Start streaming on YouTube and Twitch at the same time. It seems like that's available now. So that seems like something.
Yeah, that is on my priority list to get set up.
Yeah, seems like
probably
a big
in this
deal.
next week to just be streaming on both platforms.
Yeah, so.
Yeah,
so those are the 2 things I would say.
But I will take your words of encouragement, and because there is that part of my brain that goes like, "Hey, it needs to be like top level quality before I can put anything out there." And that is
I get frozen with that same like issue where that fear of like top level, and then you put it out and you're like, "Hey, it's great," just like everything else you ever made. Like, we're good. It's like, okay,
you just rip the Band-Aid off and you get over it. You know?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but the Twitch live streams really have been a good time. So come hang out if you feel like it.
Wait, my turn. All right. 1, everyone who wants to make content should basically always listen to Collins. 2, let's talk about Sal's Twitch stream. There's not much on the YouTube yet, so I want to talk about Twitch. First and foremost, I follow everybody on Twitch. Everybody. Like, if you're in the Marvel Snap category and I see you, I follow you. I feel like it's like at least partially my responsibility to keep up with everything. Sal's in the top like 1% of people I follow. Like, it's like, so what a lot of people struggle with is talking to chat and actually playing well at the same time. Like, a lot of people are good at one or the other, right?
Yeah.
You constantly do both, and you have a switch that you switch between for the others, and the chat is able to like function without you to continue the conversation, and you catch up really quickly and well, so it doesn't feel like the conversation is stilted, but you stop and you're like, okay, and then you talk through your move literally out loud, which really helps the viewer. And then you go back to like, and then like you make the play and you don't dwell and you go back to the conversation. I've never seen you get frustrated with it. I mean, I've seen you do like the oh shit that everyone does, right? But like, I've never seen you be like, I can't continue this conversation because they played X, right?
Yeah.
Or because, oh, I miscounted Y. You're like, okay, I made the play. This is the best play I thought I had. And then you're back to the conversation and it's constantly like a really engaging back and forth. And it's super high level. And like, and I'm just telling you, I follow everyone, and very few Twitch streamers are able to do it at that level. It's a talent. You're great. People should follow you at CallMeSal _ for no reason.
Because somebody else had the name.
There's a reason. Don't point you. There's a reason. You know?
I'm like this close to being like, who do I
_Collins?
Yeah, there's a reason, right? Like I honestly feel like I took Educated Collins and then forgot like that password. Like I feel like it was my own process. Yeah, and I haven't figured out how to solve it.
Dude, this happened too. I rated Alex Kocha with my merry band of friends, and he's like, "Oh, I got to give you a shout out." And he was like, "Wait, is there an underscore in there?" And I was like, "Yeah, man, there is."
Yeah,
he's a really
nice guy. Glazer, I really appreciate that, man. It means a lot. You know, I'm here to hang out. You know, the game isn't secondary, I guess, but ultimately it's like I just want to create a positive environment where people can hang out, have a good time, and the games are there as part of the entertainment.
I mean, but like the gameplay is really good. It's not like you're bad at the game.
I don't think so either.
And there are a few Twitch streamers that are not wonderful at Snap. I'm not going to name any names. That's a bridge too far. But like you're like
he
actually
has his
good.
List, you know?
I don't. Like every once in a while, I'm like I should make a list of like shit, and I'm like I'm never doing these lists. When do I have free time? Can't play a video game. But no, like you're really good at the game. And what's really helpful, I think, for your chat that I've seen a lot of is when you stop and do like the mental breakdown and you go, okay, I need to, you literally say something along the lines of, okay, I need to play the game now. Give me a sec. And then you literally talk through exactly what you're doing and then you do it and you can see like exactly what the process is to get there. And it's very cool.
Yeah. Well, thanks, man. I appreciate you.
No problem. All right, we gonna wrap up so Collins can go to sleep. All right, all good? Remember to follow both Educated Collins and CallMeSal, both with awkwardly placed underscores. Remember to find us on Marvel Snap Zone and me on Snap Judgments Pod on YouTube. Thanks for joining me, Collins.
No problem.
Thank you so much for joining us, Sal. He threw up a heart for anyone listening to audio, which is perfect because I end with what I always end with. We're not getting Roy's ending. Sorry. Peace and love, everybody.